Yeah, it's not a
I was all
problem.
excited about using my dog clicker that you can't even see. I'll clap like a normal human.
Well, so he doesn't use the visuals, so.
Speaking of The Last of Us,
What?
Dog clicker.
Oh, dog
dog.
clicker.
the dog thing.
Dog and clicker.
Yeah.
I wonder if there are clicker dogs in The Last of Us too.
Oh, I hope so.
Okay, so 25-30?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Cool.
Nice.
That was fun.
Noise indeed, Sam.
The Giant Bombcast this week, I watched live, so I got to see all their claps live. And they screwed it up multiple times as one of the most popular gaming podcasts of all time.
Well, they also don't normally record from home. They've been doing it for a while now, but
They've been recording from home for like
long enough.
You listen to Waypoint and they're screwing up still.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah, they started that way. Yeah.
Yeah, 300 episodes in or whatever for them, and they're still like, fuck, I don't know. But they also give each other like 2 seconds heads up.
Oh, do we want to?
They turn it into a game.
Did we want to take 5 seconds for check-ins on what we're playing, or do we just want to go right into Sony? I saw Allison's note, and I wanted.
Yeah, I really don't care if I talk about it or not.
I don't either.
We can we'll see.
Bravely Default.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's like
video.
5 minutes of a very old game at this point.
Well, Joe has a question he wanted to pose about JRPGs, and not everyone
Okay, cool.
here. So we can start with that, and then we can move on to Sony. And then if we don't go super long with like that kind of stuff, then we can talk about what we're playing.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that works
If
for me.
anyone's got
works for
anything
me.
they really want to talk about.
Yep. Okay, I pulled up a video for it anyways. Just in
Okay.
case.
Okay, is everybody good to go?
Yes. Absolutely.
I'm looking at the notes as we speak. Definitely not for the first time.
Hello, and welcome to episode 125 of the Gaming Fix podcast on June 13th, 2020. I am your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite Pantone color code. I am joined today by Alex.
I'm so excited to pick up my new router, the PS5.
Also joining me, Pat,
V will come too.
Allison,
It'd be so cool if I could find like a cool Pantone color right now, but I can't. So
Sam,
Video games. I'm on the podcast.
and
I
also
remembered
joining us today is gamer extraordinaire, musician aplenty, pragmatic programmer, math whiz, and co-host of the top software development podcast, Coding Blocks, Joe Zack.
yay!
That's not coming through, Alex.
We didn't. Hopefully, that'll be on your recording, whatever it was. I hope it was air horns.
Yeah, it was.
Joe Zack, I have a very pressing question. What is it? I'm also in the 2 first name gang, but I'm actually in the 3 first name gang.
Me too.
What's your middle name?
Mitchell.
We get real personal right away.
Yeah, Mitchell.
Mitch, okay. I got William over here, so
Congrats.
yeah, it's like
almost
inverted Mitchell. It's not, but it's almost. We'll say.
Are there middle names that are not also first names?
Oh yeah, some people do like last names.
Do they?
They don't like hyphenate. I don't know. They do like or another person's middle name. I don't know.
One of
Just
one
like
of my middle
nonsense.
names is my mother's maiden name.
Yeah,
okay.
like
Wait,
maiden
sorry.
names, stuff like
sorry,
that.
one of?
Yeah, Sam has 2 middle names. We've been over
Oh,
this.
right. We have been over this. Sorry.
That's my Twitter account is my initials.
Your every account is your initials.
Yeah, my every account is my initials.
My middle name is James, so I guess I just kind of always walk through life thinking everyone's middle names were also first names.
Yeah, my middle name is Claire. Now that we're going through all of this, and same, I kind of just assumed like, oh, it's a first name that they didn't give you.
Mine is Jean. So
Ja.
Rules.
Jean.
There's some good middle names on this
so
podcast.
if-
I like.
I've
Okay,
been.
that was really funny and no one got it but me.
No, I heard the
I did not.
All right. Well, off to a rip-roaring start.
My son's name is also middle name is also James. Pat. I have a P.
Todd
James.
Harrison. That's Howard.
PJ.
PJ.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you know a little secret. My initials are also JZ, which has been the source of so many great jokes since like 1990.
I bet.
And then
Great
none of
and
that ever gets
appropriate
old.
jokes.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, there's a few songs that I've had sung to me, which is awesome.
That sounds very fun.
All right. Well, yeah, got a lengthy EGS file. I can't do a Jay-Z impression.
That was good. That was good.
Since you're the guest and you told us you have a bit of a question for us, we'll start off there before jumping into the meat of this episode.
All right. Yeah.
Kick us off, Joe Zack.
So I grew up playing, Nintendo and RPGs, and I loved them so much. Final Fantasy 1, up through probably Final Fantasy 7 was when I started college and kind of fell off for a couple of years because I couldn't afford games. And then when I came back in, I had a hard time getting into RPGs, and I've been wanting that. And now that I have a Switch that I can play on the couch while I watch TV or before I go to bed, I've been wanting to get back in. But I think maybe between World of Warcraft and shooters have kind of ruined my attention span. And so I'm trying to find a good solid JRPG that's going to kind of ease me back into story-driven games. And I know, listening to you guys talk about games like Danganronpa or however you say it, and Final Fantasy 7 Remake and stuff, I'm dying to get back into one of these games. But I need something that's going to kind of ease me in a little bit. And I know that you are the right people to ask.
So I actually have some advice here based on you saying that you like World of Warcraft.
I know what every person is going to say individually on this podcast.
You probably know what I'm going to say.
So if you are a big World of Warcraft fan, you should play the Xenoblade Chronicles remaster that just came out. Because it plays like an MMO, but it has a really good story. And it's one of those games that you can, I play it while listening to podcasts. While basically whenever you go to a new area, there'll be a big story section, then there'll be do whatever you want, and you can go around and pick up items and stuff. And
there'll be a pickup around 47 side quests, which is not an exaggeration.
Oh, I just started playing it last night because the JRPG that I'm playing right now is making me mad. So yeah, I basically did that where I was just picking up a bunch of side quests in the first area, going this is my life now.
Yes. Yeah. You start playing and it has such a cool intro sequence, and then I ran out of gas very quickly because it was oh, I'm gonna be doing this for a long time. But it is a cool game. I mean, combat wise, have you played have you ever seen or played Final Fantasy 11?
Oh yeah, I played it.
So the combat in Xenoblade is a little bit faster version of that game, where you're you select someone to attack, and then you push the start combat button, and then it kind of zooms into you're circling them and auto attacking on a timer, and then you have abilities that you're using on cooldowns. The combat's very cool for sure.
Yeah, I like that. Go get 5 carrots and kill 3 bandits or whatever. I kind of like that grindy, mindless stuff.
You'll like Xenoblade.
Yes, that is. There's a lot of that, and I will say they did make it smart where there's a lot of different difficulty modes that are more quality of life modes, where if you get tired of doing the side quests, you can just flip on the casual mode, and then it means that you can progress through the story without needing to worry about grinding extra. Or if you do all the side quests and get way too powerful, there's also an expert mode where it kind of adjusts the game for working on the assumption that you're doing everything, and makes it harder. So yeah.
Oh, can I complain about something real quick?
Absolutely.
We do that a lot here.
So that all sounds fantastic. I have to make sure one thing though. I cannot stand when games have super crazy inventories like Divinity or Fallout or Skyrim, when you oh cool axe, let me pick, I can't walk now, I've got to go figure out which items are the least valuable, so I have to drop. So I spend up the whole my whole time playing trying to figure out which cheese is the best one to drop and which one isn't using in crafts or recipes. So I have to have a smaller inventory. I like stuff, but I don't want to go through like pages of it like in The Witcher or whatever.
So Xenoblade has no weight to inventory. You can carry like 10,000 bits of armor. Well, not 10,000. The max inventory is like 450, I think, or it's enough that you don't worry about it. And I've been playing. I'm like 15 to 20 hours in, I think, and I've not hit max inventory ever.
Okay. And I also think it. I haven't interacted with the inventory a ton, but one of the complaints about the original was the UI in general had some issues when it first came out on Wii, and so they, from what I understand, they did do a lot of work in this re-release to kind of clean a lot of that stuff up. And I've heard that that's one of the most improved areas of the whole package, is that the inventory and UI and skill system and stuff has all gotten a huge bump. So I don't think you'll run into that issue, but it's definitely not like a Bethesda. It's much more like an MMO in the way that your inventory works and is used. It feels
like an MMO, but single player.
If you can deal with WoW inventory, I'm pretty sure you could deal with Xenoblade, no problem.
Yeah, it's much more. It organizes into subcategories by itself, which is really good.
Everybody's wearing shorts in the game. It looks like. So I'm into that.
Everybody wears shorts in JRPGs.
Have you played Smash? Like
yes.
the two Shulk. That's where Shulk's from.
And I'm familiar with was it Nude Shulk?
Yeah. You generate a nude Shulk.
Episodes ago.
Yeah.
I had to Google that after the episode, so thanks for that.
It's Ryan time.
Do you know? I just had a moment in my head where I was like, that was so funny when that happened on that podcast, and then I remembered what podcast it happened on.
Nice one.
Any other JRPG recommendations?
Yeah, I know that everybody else saw this coming, but if you liked a classic Final Fantasy and kind of want something similar-ish, but with a new kind of twist on mechanic, Octopath Traveler is very good. It like that entire it's basically, I think, from the exact same developers as the Bravely Default games, which is one of them, which is what I've been playing. But it has an interesting combat system. And its story is more focused on individual characters than an overarching story. Like the overarching story isn't really there. It's mostly focused on each individual 8 characters and their own growth. I think that the 8 characters that you play with are really good. So I know that a lot of people have different opinions about Octopath, but I think that if you like that kind of classic Final Fantasy and you want something that kind of takes that and does something fun with it, then I'd recommend Octopath.
I played it. I played the demo. It was beautiful, but I couldn't beat the first boss, and I rage uninstalled it.
Totally fair.
Just immediately.
No, I totally get that.
Yeah, I think Octopath is good. I would have 2 other recommendations. We talked about it before we started recording. One would be Dragon Quest XI.
That's what I thought that Sam was going to say.
Yeah, especially if you like the kind of top-down JRPG, like old school Final Fantasy style, because you can switch into that. Like it has the ability. On the Switch version, you can. Yeah, you can switch. Click between the like the straight up modern kind of behind the back camera that you expect from like you would have in Xenoblade. But yeah, then you can switch it to like the top down, like Chrono Trigger style.
Can you switch, or does it have to be? Do you have to lock into one?
No, you can switch. Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
You have to reload because it's actually like 2. It's not just top down. It's also 2D sprites and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They made the entire game as both a 3D modern JRPG and a 2D classic style JRPG. So you have to bop out to the menu.
Save points, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other one. Oh, sorry. Go for it, Sam.
Dragon Quest XI is probably the best JRPG this generation, like on the PS4, Switch, Xbox One generation. Notably, I haven't finished Final Fantasy VII Remake, which apparently people love, but it's the best traditional JRPG in my opinion. And it is real long though. Like, be prepared. I'm over 120 hours in, and I've not finished the second storyline. So like the game finishes and then they're like, oh, do you want to like play a bit more? There's a couple of things you can mop up, and like 60 hours later I'm still playing.
The one thing I'll say is that while it doesn't have the top-down 2D mode, the Switch version has a really sizable demo. It's, I think, about 10 hours in that demo. It's basically just the first part of the game.
It does carry over.
You can carry your save, and it also like you can't play the 2D mode in the demo, but you can carry your save over to the full game, which has the 2D mode in it, and then switch over to it.
If you kind of want to get a feel for the game, then you can definitely the demo will pretty much tell you, and the demo is quite sizable. I would say that I'm considering buying it because it's actually on sale for the first time on Switch now. But
for sure,
I do think from what I understand from Sam, the start is a little bit slow.
It's a ramp for sure.
Yeah, so it's a game where I really want to be like, because I do like JRPGs a lot. I do want to kind of push myself and get into it, but the first little bit can be kind of slow.
Yeah.
It's perfect on the Switch as well. I think it's like the best console for it.
I think it's
I would agree.
I've only played like 20-ish hours of it, admittedly, because I just had there's no specific reason with the game that was the case, but
too many games.
Yeah, but I would say it's probably easily top 10 Switch games that I've played, if not top 5, like across the consoles library. It's a pretty fantastic game.
I just had to throw in that Dragon Warrior might have been my first RPG. I got my parents to mail in a check to Nintendo Power because you got it for free if you subscribe.
That's great.
That's amazing.
That's so good.
What's so cool about Dragon Quest 11 and that whole series too is it's the same math, like it's the same core systems from the original game in Dragon Quest 11.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, so they've done slight refinements over the course of the series, and there's been entries in the series where it's like, oh, this one has monster catching in it, and this one has like a job system and stuff, but it's all the same. It's all based on the same core numbers because the math behind it is so good, and it was originally inspired by tabletop RPGs like D&D and stuff. So it's doing actual, when you attack and you have 9 attack and the enemy has 5 defense or whatever, it's doing a dice roll. And that same core math from the original game exists in the game as it is now, with refinements over time, but like it's the same system. Which is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, wow. That's really cool that they ported that over. The other recommendation I would have, it hasn't come out on Switch yet. It's coming out in July, and that's Crosscode.
That's not what I was gonna say.
Yeah, well, but Crosscode is really good. It's a sprite, 100% sprite based. It's kind of like a Zelda, like original Zelda, in that like it has dungeons and you're doing big puzzles, and like it's the kind of thing where you want to figure out those puzzles without having to consult a guide, if you know what I mean. Because like they will tease your brain, and it's actually like interesting. Like they have a bunch of mechanics going on that'll make you go, oh, I can do that. And then you just kind of like blow the whole thing open, and it's great. But it's also very sci-fi. So if you're into sci-fi-y kind of RPGs, it's one of those, and it has really good writing. So
I'm looking at screenshots on Google, and there's just a One Punch Man joke with like a Santa Claus guy.
It's got a lot of that kind of stuff.
It can be pretty referential, but it's very, very good. Okay. And it's also beautiful. It's also like $20. I think it's pretty cheap. So
also coming out next month on the Switch is Paper Mario and the Origami King, which I'm going to be picking up because watching those videos, it looks very good. And I love like all the theming they're doing with like the stationery and the origami stuff is just very good. Yeah.
And I have no idea how it's going to be considering the last couple Paper Mario games. But from the trailer, it feels like they kind of recognize what people want from a Paper Mario game, but they're still doing interesting things with it. Because the new trailer focused on characters and places that you can go that look interesting. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of what I want from Paper Mario. So I'm just in this constant state of like, please be good about it.
Super Mario RPG was pretty nice. I'd love to see a part 2.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that narrowed down some choices for you.
We got through a whole JRPG discussion without talking about Trails.
Yeah, that's...
I don't think that's a start JRPG.
No, it is not.
I think it's one of the best JRPGs series ever, but I don't think it's like a starter.
Well, because only Trails is...
I would start with Persona.
We don't have to talk about it. I was congratulating us.
I mean, also, like, only Cold Steel 3 is going to be on Switch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and they've announced no plans to port the original 2.
So I don't know why
you to PS4.
Play it on Switch.
They were like,
true. Yes. Yeah.
The only
I'll
other...
be playing it on Switch, but...
Right, but I mean, like...
You've played all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the only other one that is completely a rumor is that Persona 4 Golden is coming to PC. If that came to Switch, that's like the easiest...
Which is supposed to happen today.
Yes, it is supposed to happen today. There's a PC game show later today.
At 3 a.m. my time.
But if that comes to Switch too, that's probably the easiest recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Persona 3 fan self is sitting here going, please port that too.
I might say I think Dragon Quest 11 is on par with Persona 4 as in terms of I
would say Dragon Quest is a better recommendation for someone trying to get back into JRPG.
would agree. Yeah.
Okay, that's true.
Persona 4
that's
has 10
totally
hours
fair.
of tutorial.
It does.
And Persona
I feel like the first fight is 4 hours into that game.
This
could be wrong.
This is
roughly
This is not meant as anything against Persona 4 Golden, because I love that game and I like all the Persona games, but it's also a monster catching game. So if you don't like, it's not this. I mean, it's not Pokemon. You're not like tossing your monster out to fight, but it has a lot of those collection elements that are. It's still a JRPG, but it's a different kind of thing, I feel, than something like Dragon Quest for sure.
But one of the monsters you can collect is literally Satan sitting on a toilet.
Oh, yeah, the monsters are amazing. Don't get me wrong.
One of the monsters is a giant penis riding in a chariot.
It's true.
I think the penis is the chariot. It's all one thing. Yeah.
It's like never mind.
It's a great.
Hey-ho.
Let's talk about the other thing we were going to talk about for the rest of this episode.
Talk about Jack Frost. Hee ho, hey ho.
Oh, Jack Frost is the best. Anyways, King Frost.
And King Frost. All right. Well, this week, Sony they did the thing. They said, "Hey, we got games. Y'all like games still? Maybe."
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure for a little bit there. I was like, do I like games? I don't know.
I only do this gaming podcast, but
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure for the first 2 minutes of this presentation how much I like the games anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, what? No, you know what? That first 2 minutes, I went GTA 5. Really?
No one's ever played that game.
That started on the PS3.
Yeah. Like late in the PS3. Is that game?
That's what I had it for. It's PS3. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I finished on PS3.
For I don't even know.
2012, yeah.
I watched it on YouTube and I literally checked to make sure I was watching the right one.
And I don't know if Joe, it's as visceral for you, but I know for me, seeing the Rockstar logo pop up on screen is like, oh shit, what is this going to be? So for like half a second there, it was like, holy shit, what are we going to get? This is amazing. Is this going to be a new Bully? Is this going to be a Red Dead expansion? Is this going to be
Agent?
Like, well, who knows? Is it a new thing? Are they going to announce GTA 6 off the bat on this thing? And then of course it's GTA 5, and it's like, no, of course not. Rockstar's not going to make another video.
Yeah, and it's GTA 5, but like for a brief second, I was like, wait, is this going to be like GTA 5 2?
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe it's a sequel to GTA 5.
Maybe it's a sequel. I don't know.
The thing that everyone likes about GTA 5 seems to be the online at this point.
Yeah.
I don't hear anyone talking about the story really.
Yeah, I mean not anymore. But I was like, I don't know. Maybe it's.
I'm just like
I kept trying to think of ways why this would be at the start of a Sony conference about PlayStation 5.
Especially because you're right, Andre. Like, people play the multiplayer, and the multiplayer has for good. I mean, it's good. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's weird and impenetrable, but it's cool once you do penetrate it. But there's a bunch of story stuff in the trailer that they showed, and
and the story stuff is coming like next year, but we'll have GTA Online at launch.
That story was never great. Like, it's okay.
I would be shocked if anybody was like, I don't like the gameplay, but what I played Grand Theft Auto for is the story. Like, I'd be shocked.
GTA, like Vice City and San Andreas had pretty entertaining stories, and I think 4's story is pretty great.
Yeah.
5 was like fine, but there's a lot of pretty bad stuff in it that wasn't good at the time, and that has not aged well in terms of like, there is some transphobic stuff in there, and there is some torture stuff in there.
Yes,
and
there
like
is.
I don't think drawing attention to that game's story is maybe the best thing for the moment.
But either way, like, I think the one cool thing they did is like, oh, if you get a PS5, you get it for free. I mean, yeah,
but you get GTA
nice.
Online for free for 3 months. That's what it is.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay, I misinterpreted then.
Don't worry,
it'll be not so great.
It'll be like $10, and they'll give you $4 million.
They'll charge you $60 for that.
I don't know.
Again,
the way that they throw that thing out like candy on PC, so they might, for the first few months, they'll probably, after that 3 months is up, they'll spend 2 months trying to sell it to you for $60, and then the first sale will happen, and it'll be like 15.
Do you think the PlayStation 5 that will come with the game pre-installed on it?
That Astrobot thing is pre-installed.
Oh. Okay, it is. Yeah,
is it actually?
You open the game console Christmas Day, and you have to go download 80 gigs or whatever. It's just like, it seems like they have to bundle a game with the digital only version. Otherwise,
hopefully, like Polygon runs like they have like a story they run every year. Is like, if you bought a console for your kids, open it before, update it. Mm-hmm. If you have digital games, install those so the kids can actually enjoy it on that day
instead of just sitting watching the TV download, whatever. But
so hopefully, like, parents are savvy enough, maybe they're like grandparents or whatever buying consoles that aren't going to get that memo. Who knows? But that information is out there for people, so hopefully it reaches them. But also, I don't know how many are going to be out there for like Christmas Day with like. With the economy the way it is, they're making fewer consoles. There will be some out there, but I think this year it's not so much of an issue. But I believe that Astrobot game is pre-installed.
I was a neurotic.
Whatever it is. You are erotic? What?
No, neurotic. I was a neurotic enough child that if I had opened a console on Christmas and it had been opened already by my parents, I would have been like, "What is this?
What have
I'm supposed to be the one to pop the seal on this?"
A lot of
I would have,
depending on the console, they're not necessarily sealed. Like,
no, but I would have been like, "You didn't let me start it for the first time."
I mean,
I wanted to watch it download.
No, I kind of might have been that same child too.
I was a smart enough kid.
Where you're like, wait, I didn't go through the setup menus.
I mean, if
I was the one who's supposed to say like that I want this console in English. Like,
I'm the one who's supposed to say no, we don't need parental features.
Do you remember when like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, I think even like some of the Sega systems, they came with the game. So like everyone who had the Master System had Altered Beast, and so like
the pack-ins,
Common Thread or Super Mario World. So it was cool that like when everyone got it around Christmas, you would go in after the holiday break, and everyone had the same game to talk about, which is just really cool. And I don't know that there's a single game that you could really deliver with the PlayStation 5 that would kind of unify the world like that. But that's the kind of stuff we need now.
It's called Fortnite.
Well, you're not wrong.
Based on the sorry, Alex, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the last one I can think of is Wii Sports, but
yeah.
The real answer is Hexic. Come on, guys.
The answer for the PS5 might be Spider-Man, because I don't know that any other games are coming out at launch.
It depends. Yeah. Like they've got, I think they said like 16 games for launch or something like that. There's an interview somewhere, and Deathloop is one of those games, and that's a contender for game of the year already in my book. Obviously, I haven't touched it, haven't played it, but I've just been enamored with it since the trailer. Good. The first, like last year, I think
that it looks. Yeah. I mean, they're doing the thing that if you were to make a Dishonored remake, the thing you would do, in my opinion, is make it one contiguous map.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing with Deathloop. Is it's one huge map with 8 targets on it, but it also has a fucking awesome art style.
The aesthetic of that trailer was so rad. It was very good.
It's like they saw We Happy Few and said, this is going to be a bad video game, and then made a good video game instead.
It's like, this is interesting. Let's make it good.
That game looks it's very close to the top of my list for most anticipated stuff.
The multiplayer stuff makes me believe less interested. I mean,
you don't have to turn it on though. You can turn it off.
Yeah,
that's good.
And to be clear, that multiplayer is kind of Dark Souls style invasions, where another player can kind of come in and try and murder you.
So there's, I can't remember the guy's name. Like the protagonist is this guy, and then there's an assassin who's trying to kill people, and then one of the people you're trying to kill is a woman named Juliana, I believe.
I don't think you're trying to kill her. I think she's actively opposing you.
I'm trying to remember what I believe she is. I believe she is one of the targets.
Okay.
But so depending on your loop, another player could be in the game as Juliana.
Yeah.
And trying to hunt you down and kill you.
For me, sorry, Sam.
Is it a roguelike? Like when you die, do you start the loop again?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as much of a...
I don't think it's a roguelike.
I mean, I think...
It's more like roguelite, where it has that kind of loop where
it's an Outer Worlds Outer Wilds where you loop and
still doing it.
You're learning the routines of your targets and trying to piece all that together so you can kill everyone in one loop.
But I think you're probably also, in a Dishonored way, not in a loot game way, getting upgrades and equipment and stuff that's
right.
persistent, I would think.
I mean, that's right.
Maybe.
If it's a Groundhog Day situation, I think you're probably figuring out where things are and then going back to pick them up.
I think that would make me less excited because that seems a little tedious, but who knows? I would imagine there's some kind of persistent progression too.
Like you're kind of thinking more like Rogue Legacy Dead Cells style, where you're kind of getting some permanent upgrades.
I bet there are permanent upgrades because there's like Dishonored style teleport and telekinetic powers and stuff.
Upgrades to that kind of stuff is what I mean.
Yeah, your powers I think will upgrade, but I don't necessarily think your like equipment loadout will necessarily.
Yeah.
Like this nail gun where he just like pours a bunch of nails in willy-nilly.
Yeah.
And just works. That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
If that was coming from almost any other studio, I would be pretty suspicious of it. But the fact that it's coming from Arcane makes me feel like, that's probably going to come out really well.
What I think I'm sort of also say I'm not interested in playing through that game with the risk of getting attacked by another player all the time. But I think that game could actually turn into a pretty awesome, like, once I've played it and I know how it works, going in with the assumption of getting someone as an opponent and then having that kind of cat and mouse game happen on a hard difficulty sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, I am very excited for Deathloop.
That's not the first game I thought we were going to talk about.
Well, we got here because
it's one of the most exciting. So
there's only one that's more. And that's
there are a lot of games that are exciting here, I think.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, Alex?
I'm talking about Bugsnax.
Okay, we're on the same page.
From the creators of Octodad, 6 years in the making. Bugsnax.
Bugsnax looks pretty cool.
I can't stop thinking about Bugsnax.
I noticed I kind of zoomed in a little bit. Some of the things had like hot dogs for ears.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was sold.
I was into it from At first, I was very into the art style, but I immediately assumed when we saw the little strawberry that it was not going to be a game I'd care about playing.
Well, Pat, we were watching it together with Allison, and the first words out of your mouth was, "Oh, this isn't a game for me, but it's very cute."
Yeah. But then by the time we got to the submarine sandwich centipede, I'm just fully in all the way, because it's like I thought it was going to be like a very twee like cute
kind of cutesy
bugs
game, yeah.
But the fact that it's actually just like a fucking acid trip means that I am very much gonna check that thing out.
Theme song that plays the whole time.
It didn't stick with me, but people kept saying
it was just like realizing like the lyrics. I can't remember exactly what they are, but I was like, oh, this is a whole.
I'll have to watch it again. I didn't catch the theme song really at all.
Yeah, the lyrics are very good.
I
texted my friend as the trailer started, cloudy with a chance of PS5.
But I think that it was one of those things where I think we were probably talking over it, and I think just in our group call about it, we just kept going like, wait, what? It was just like
a lady's hands turned into strawberry.
Yeah.
Everything turned into
fry.
And then the ending was like a nightmare horror movie scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they said on Twitter that if you thought that stuff was weird, that like that was the tip of the iceberg. So
I'm so excited. Give me that blood, not blood snacks,
blood
Bugsnax.
Blood. That's a different game.
That's it. Or maybe
that was at the
what
Xbox event.
Yeah. All right. Well, where I was going to go, since we were on Deathloop, I was going to say the other Bethesda game, Ghostwire Tokyo.
Yeah.
Which looks good.
It's the gaming's sweetheart, Ikumi Nakamura, right? Is that right? Mm-hmm. Did art design on, or was director on? She has since left.
Yeah, she was art director and then she left. She's the best. So
she's great.
The art in that
stop
game,
being weird at her on Twitter, please.
Yeah, for God's sakes. But yeah,
what do we think of Ghostwire Tokyo?
I'm kind of lukewarm on it at this point. To be honest,
it looked like fine. Like it looked interesting, but it's not something that immediately stood out to me.
Looks like Condemned.
Yeah. I don't think it looked like Condemned really. It was first person. I mean, it looked as much like...
It looked like a bunch of kind of like the Elder Scrolls, like magic kind of stuff, but doing like ninjutsu or something, because like bodies like blowing up and weirdness.
You can also tell that it was the people who made The Evil Within. Like with just kind of the way some of the world was going all funky and stuff. It's like, it's very Evil Within. So if it's like that, but doesn't control terribly, it could be okay.
I will say to that point, Joe, that I like that the fact that this is why it didn't remind me of Condemned, is that it had a lot of bright colors and stuff in it along with the drearier stuff. So that was cool from an art perspective.
It's got style.
But there's a lot of first person horror games that I haven't played that I would like to play.
I don't even know if it's a horror game. Like maybe
it's horror themes. It's maybe not a horror game, but
You know, all the trails really like it was like style, color. And kind of going into this event, I expected to see like cold rain, neon lights, flashing puddles, reflections type stuff. That's why I was expecting going in. I expected like Killzone 7 or whatever they're on, but instead I got
5. That'd be 500.
5.
Yeah, it might as well be 500 for me. It's I played that game already, with just different games.
I think they did a great job of like not doing the standard fare and doing they did some of it, but it was not like a predictable show, really.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things they did with the PS4 event was they made such a big deal of their particle system, and then it was like everything you saw was like, oh, check out Knack. It's literally just the tech demo of the game.
Yeah.
And then like you had Killzone Shadowfall, where it was like, oh, check out this glass that's shattering. It's like,
we need a first-person shooter.
I think I am, and maybe I'm alone on this, but I am deeply bored of the Sony like the room goes dark and then there's a music stinger that is either a like sharp Japanese flute or a Last of Us 2 style guitar line,
banjo
or a banjo,
Oh,
and
God.
then like slow fade up to character just like standing or sitting. Like that's they've done that so many times.
There wasn't really any like Sony prestige.
Do you mean Oscar bait games?
Yeah, there
there were no Oscar bait games.
It wasn't like the Sony house style on anything.
Yeah,
which I think
right.
was
There's a lot of interesting choices, because I definitely was expecting more of that, like that Sony.
I guess Horizon was there. With
Well, yeah, but I mean,
falls in. It's not the Uncharted Last of Us God of War style, but it is.
No, Horizon's so colorful, and there's something.
I'm not even talking about the color. I'm just talking about like the style of game.
Yeah, but
like
they
the
didn't.
Third person. Story.
They didn't play it up in that way. Like they didn't just focus on Aloy's face and like, oh, here we go.
That's
again.
kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah, it's more the style of reveal of like very somber music playing and slow pans and like focusing on the emotional pain of the people. That seems to have been
we didn't really get many games like that in this reveal.
It seems like what Pat's trying to say is that his favorite trailer was Godfall.
Oh God. That trailer was awful.
Should be noted, I didn't even put Godfall on our list. That was an explicit choice.
I'm so mad about it because I came to a realization late last year.
The music track was bumping.
That the game that I really want is a Destiny-like game, but one that's like focused on melee combat and like swords and wild armor and kind of World of Warcraft almost aesthetics.
A shooter.
But like a schlatter. And that is 110% what Godfall is. They literally call it a looter slasher, and I think the art style is kind of dumb, but I'm a sucker for that kind of like statue people in ridiculous techno fantasy armor with swords that don't make sense. But I think that game's gonna suck.
It's Gearbox. It's gonna suck.
Is Gearbox Publishing? Who?
I believe Gearbox is making it too, but I could be wrong.
It was so funny though, because I in our group call while we were watching this, like I feel like
it's Counterplay.
We saw Gearbox pop up, and we're all just kind of like, oh, okay.
What's funny is that Borderlands 3 is probably my favorite game that Gearbox has made.
Well, Pat, the Counterplay's previous game was a game called Duelist, which was a collectible card game.
I'm familiar with Duelist.
Yeah.
People like Duelist.
Duelist is very good.
Well, there
but
you
it's
go.
also Duelist is a pixel art strategic card game. So I don't know that there's a lot of tracking experience between the two things.
They made a good game before. It might be a good game again. Who knows?
I hope so, because that game would be cool if that was what that game was what I wanted it to be.
At least now we've seen the growing pains with these service games, especially these loot service games, and like you can kind of know what to expect. You can get like a thing with Destiny where it's like, okay, yeah, no, this seems pretty good, and I'm out of content. But it's fun to play. Or you get like the Anthem where you're like, there's just not enough here.
Let's hope that Godfall is not an Anthem.
I think Avengers is going to be an Anthem, but
you shut your mouth.
I don't want it to be.
He's right, Sam.
I will
wish
play it
with
anything,
you.
but I'm just what I've seen. I'm like, but that's also because a lot of what they show is like Iron Man, and that Iron Man is just a javelin. So,
okay. Whoa.
I call it like I sees them.
Javelins are just Iron Mans.
Yeah, sure.
Let's get the lineage straight.
Iron people.
Okay, so I have a question for Joe. Was there any one game that, like, obviously most of these we had never heard of, but was there one takeaway game that you were like, oh, that really surprised me? Like, that seems like I just got pulled into it immediately. Like,
yeah, I'm trying to remember. There was one that stood. Oh, I took notes on it. So I'll keep babbling while I look that up.
Yeah.
But, so Solar Ash was.
That game looks awesome.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, just the art style just looks so cool. I guess it's the hyper
Light Drifter. Yeah. And Zoe Quinn is the writer on it.
And then also, it's like Annapurna too.
perfect
cool
storm.
game I'm not gonna play.
It's got a black hole. It's like space. I love space aesthetic stuff.
That was such a cool way to start it.
It looks like you use those like sci-fi rollerblades and skate around and do stuff, which I have heard comparisons to like Jet Set.
Yeah,
but with more combat stuff and in a more abstract fantasy sci-fi world. Yeah, that game looks awesome. I'm very excited about it.
And the idea of it, maybe it looks like it could take place in that black hole, so it looks like there could be some non-Euclidean geometry going on, which I'm immediately just like
extremely cool.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the other things that I liked about this entire presentation in general, was that they felt like, we're going to show a couple of these more indie type titles.
Totally.
Like, I mean, like it's certainly not necessarily like an indie showcase, but at the same time, it was it was nice to see something like that, or something like
they felt important.
Yeah.
They got as much time as some of the bigger games.
Right.
Some of them got more time than some of the big games because, maybe the big game just had like a short trailer or whatever. But
which was really exciting to me, because it's I hope that more and more consoles are aiming for that indie market as well.
How about you, Alex? Anything that we haven't talked about stick out to you in particular?
I was super into that Kina, the Bridge of Spirits.
That looked good.
Looked so cool. I'm really excited for that one, especially if they like do something really interesting with the story. Which, knowing that studio, like they're the ones who made like the fan made kind of Majora's Mask movie. Like I think they have writing chops and they also have art chops. So if they can make a compelling game, then I would be super, super interested in seeing what they do with it.
I just kept thinking of Cameo.
You did.
That trailer was playing.
Me too, a little bit.
That's not an indictment, but
no, I remember you saying that. I'm into it, and especially because it has like the Pikmin elements to it, which seem kind of fun. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to that one a lot.
All right.
How about you, Andre?
It looks like Pixar.
Oh yeah, it looks like Pixar. Like it looks like a for real animated movie.
Almost looks as good as Toy Story.
Finally, we're there.
Oh no.
No.
How about you, Andre?
I mean, it's got to be Resident Evil 8. Like I knew it was going to be there. I had seen the leaks already. Like they came out months or like maybe last year even. But
we talked about it.
Village stuff.
Yeah.
I need to air a grievance. I said that I thought Resident Evil 8 looked cool and that I didn't know that the Village thing was going to be Resident Evil 8. And then I was savaged in the chat.
I didn't know either.
About how that we talked about it and there were leaks. I mean, trying to give it a compliment.
I mean, it looks real good. It's gonna be so disgusting in like 4K with like how wet. Oh man, well, the ray tracing in this RE engine is gonna be awful. In like the best way.
Do you think they're gonna try and sell PSVR with it?
It's gonna come out probably early next year, like probably that January to March time frame. They didn't show PSVR at the end of that thing, so I don't know.
But that was such a big part of 7, at least for the PS4.
But I would like. Well, I mean, I'm not gonna buy VR for that guy. I have a different headset. If they did like VR on the PC version, because they never put the VR in the PC version of 7. So I'm not going to play it in VR on PS5.
There is no way I could handle playing that game in VR. Half-Life Alyx is spooky enough at times that I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's one thing. I'm not sure about the setting entirely because it reminds me a lot of Resident Evil 4. And they're apparently remaking Resident Evil 4, which will probably be out the year after.
Wait, really? Oh yeah, right.
Maybe not the year after, but maybe.
That's the rumor, though.
A pretty tight schedule with these lately. They've done like one a year since 7 came out. Jeez.
So Resident Evil, it was like that's what I expected this whole kind of event to be like, and I was glad to see that it was there. But just the kind of colors, the palettes, and the water.
Yeah.
One thing that confused me about the trailer, and I haven't played many Resident Evil games, but you kind of open the door. And this old guy shoots you, right? Like there's like he's got a shotgun, and then he's like, oh, sorry, and everything's fine. So I'm wondering, like, who the heck are you that can get shot by a shotgun? So I'm like, what's going on with the story? So I'm interested.
I mean, in 7 you get your arm chopped off and then they staple it back onto you and it just works.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it?
Yeah, there's some
funny because I'm watching Prison Break and a guy gets his arm chopped off and then he gets it sewed back on. It does not work.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of leaps of in logic that Resident Evil takes.
Yeah,
yes. Well, there's also they infect him with the weird
G-virus
thing in no, it's not the G virus in 7, but they infect him with like the virus, and then that like helps heal him as he's like getting infected. But it's just silly because you can also get your like leg chopped off. I've only seen it happen once, so I feel like I'm losing my mind because I've never seen it happen again. But in like the kind of once you get into the main house, you have to like do this thing where you sneak around the father, and he like chopped off my leg with his like shovel, and then I'm on the ground and I'm looking at my severed like foot, and like I crawl over and I grab it and I stick it, like I hold it on and I like pour some like juice over it, and then it's like then I can stand again, and I'm like, what just happened?
I feel like I saw that too, actually. I don't think you're crazy.
Yeah, but I've played that game a lot and I've only seen it happen once.
None of us are doctors here, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just
We're
the
not
horror
qualified.
version of Don't Wake Dad.
But it was
it is, Sam, and it
was some shenanigans.
But yeah, I know we already talked about it like a month or two ago, but like the fact that it does have the werewolves and other kind of not just shambling zombies forever. I think that's an
for
interesting
what it's
take.
worth. Resident Evil has a lot of like between like the lickers and the like
Tyrants,
the frog people
Nemesis,
and the tyrants and stuff. There's a fairly wide range of types of enemies, but I agree that like seeing the werewolf stuff, I'm hoping generally it's weird. It like goes even weirder.
It seems like they're doing a lot more human characters in this one. In the trailer, they showed like a lot of different characters and not just like monsters. So I'm hoping there's like some really colorful characters in this like village and the castle that seem to be up on the mountain there. So that's what I'm most excited for. Well, no, it's maybe second most, but like Deathloop, then Resident Evil. Yeah, probably, because those are like, we know roughly when those are coming, because Deathloop is this year and
we
Resident Evil's next year.
Pretty good idea of like quality standards at those studios and like the kind of work they've done. So I think it's reasonable to be pretty excited about those.
Absolutely. How about you,
the
Pat?
castle?
Sam, please.
What if the castle in Resident Evil 8 is owned by a reclusive old lord called Alucard?
God,
that's it's gonna be
Dr. Athia.
Well, I guess if it takes place, if it's 8, so it takes place after 4. So the little man, Salazar, is that his name?
Yeah, Salazar.
He's like, I'm 24 years old and I'm 2 feet tall.
Yeah.
I need to see Salazar in 4K 60 FPS.
Oh, well, you have to wait 2 years and you'll get it.
Okay, Sam, if there is Dr. Acula, I just hope that JD and Turk pop through the door and then it's just a Scrubs reunion for the rest of
it.
Do you know they're doing a podcast? This is a complete tangent.
How come we never got a Scrubs video game? That seems like that would have been like a telltale
sure.
Like a we're gonna try doing a comedy using this. I mean, I know Sam and Max is that, but that seems like it should have happened.
I want Telltale Riverdale. That's what I want.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Oh God.
That sounds like a nightmare.
But yeah, JD and Turk are watching episodes of Scrubs and talking about it and talking about behind the scenes stuff on a podcast.
I think that's called Director's
like Best Friends Forever or something.
Not director, right. But all right.
Yeah.
Pat, what haven't we talked about that you're looking forward to?
Deathloop was high on the list. And Horizon's high on the list, but I think I would say that Hitman 3 trailer pretty much fucking slapped. That is one of my favorite series of this generation. And that the music in that trailer was amazing. It's Hitman, so it has the Hitman look, but knowing that that's coming next year.
Self-publishing this one.
Yep.
Didn't they self-publish the last one?
I believe
Warner Brothers published the last one.
Hitman 2 I thought was published by them.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm wrong.
Warner Brothers published Hitman 2
I didn't know.
like as part of it, but they couldn't. That was part of why they only had you're right. Like the motion graphic or the motion comic like cutscenes is because Warner Brothers wouldn't like give them enough money, so like whatever, we'll do it ourselves, and that's why they have like the full cutscenes now. Fair apparently enough. Cool. I saw someone saying that. I can't verify, but that's what I was seeing going around.
Fair enough. Yeah, the whole aesthetic of the Dubai kind of level that they showed looks perfect for Hitman.
What's fun too, I think it was in the No Clip documentary about IO. I could be wrong, it could have been somewhere else that I saw this, but they basically have like an almanac of locations that they want to do that could fuel the next 10 Hitman games. They are the
culmination of this trilogy, at least.
Yeah, but they're also very careful about like how they have the like marquee level that they're going to show at the top. Like they could have done Dubai for Hitman 2, but it had to wait for Hitman 3 because that is going to, like, they know that level is going to be one that people talk about, and for good reason, because it looked so cool. As soon as they were like early in the trailer, before they showed the stuff about the Dubai level specifically, they show an image of the Dubai skyline, and I was like, oh my God, I hope there's a mission up at the top of a skyscraper in Dubai. And then sure enough, that's the mission that they highlight at the end of the trailer.
It's taking place at the same party that they go to in Fast and Furious 6.
If only. Do you think Ronda Rousey's there?
Oh, I hope so. I can.
Well, if she's there, I hope
Ronda Rousey out a window.
I'm not. You said it, not me.
If she's there, I hope it's not her voice acting.
God, I hope not.
If you can't drive a car between two towers, I'm not playing that game.
I think
does that happen in that movie? I haven't watched that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
They drive between three towers in the movie.
They drive between three.
Because the brakes don't work, so they fly they drive purposefully into another like one, and then they're like, oh shit, no brakes, and they end up in the other one.
Okay.
That movie's good. You should watch.
That movie is extremely good.
Good.
That movie is amazing, and that sequence is very good. I do hope that they reference like that you can at least like find a car or something and then do a kill with it because
someone's birthday.
Yeah,
do you have to impersonate a Shaw brother?
T-Pain is there. That's what they need. DJing the party.
Anyway, Hitman 3, I am fully confident it will be all they need to do is put out another one of those with another pack of levels, and
out in January
on my game of the year list.
Okay. So, episodic? Yes or no?
No, I don't think so.
No.
They said out in January. They didn't say
I think they'll do it
1 January. They said release January 2021.
It'll probably come out in January, and then they'll have 2 or 3 DLC levels that come out over the course of the year.
Yeah, like
Second question. Okay.
I was gonna say, I think Hitman 1 was better for being episodic because it had a better pacing, because you were like, okay, I'm just going to focus on the Paris level for this month, and then I'm going to switch to the next level for the next month, etc.
I think it cemented that game's kind of place as being one that people talked about, because every couple of months or every month or whatever, there was a new Hitman level to talk about. So at least as someone who listens to Giant Bomb, like they talked about the new Hitman level when they came out consistently on the Bombcast, which I think helped keep it in people's minds as like, oh yeah, Hitman, that's a cool game.
Did it help them stay at Squaresoft though? Square Enix. Okay, second question. Elusive targets. Who's going to be their celebrity target this time?
Oh, what if it's Vin Diesel?
Gary Busey. Gary Busey, and then they did who was Sean Bean?
Eric Roberts. They did, didn't they?
Who?
Have they done Eric Roberts?
I don't know who that is.
Because they have not done Eric Roberts. They should do Eric Roberts.
I don't know who that is.
Julia Roberts' brother. He's the villain in Dead or Alive.
What?
He's an extremely famous actor.
I don't know who you're talking about.
What?
Yeah.
What? Allison, help me out here, please. They don't know who Eric Roberts is.
Oh, yeah. He's been a lot of stuff.
Oh, okay.
Like, he was in The Dark Knight. He was Falcone.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Name a movie I've seen, please.
Yeah.
Come on. Dead or Alive?
Yeah, well, I was like,
Dead or Alive is a very
villain
funny movie.
in Dead or Alive is your touch point.
I saw that movie at the cinema. We snuck beers in. It was an extremely good experience.
Okay, I had no idea what this man's name was.
Elusive Target.
Him or Tom Sizemore are the next elusive targets.
The thing about Eric Roberts is that he will do literally anything. Like, seriously, any movie.
Oh, so he's like Nicolas Cage?
Oh, no, Nicolas Cage.
Way further.
Maybe with fewer like qualms about what he does. Like, he was in a movie that's like a notoriously bad movie called A Talking Cat. I don't know if you guys heard about that.
I think there are multiple Talking Cat movies, but I have not seen.
No, it's called A Talking Cat with a Talking Cat ! Question mark ! And it's like very low budget bad movie, and then somehow Eric Roberts is the voice of the cat.
That one.
Will do student films,
right? So
we have a training session on him at work because people who do not watch American movies don't understand him.
I feel like you're not giving IO enough credit here, or Hitman. Like, put some respect on that name.
Yeah, exactly.
They put Gary Busey in it. Eric Roberts is Gary Busey level,
but Sean Bean is.
Sean Bean's also a meme.
I think Nicolas Cage is now my new vote for the one.
Nicolas Cage or Keanu Reeves.
That would be pretty.
John Travolta.
You won't be able to kill Keanu Reeves.
The whole thing with the Sean Bean character was he couldn't die, so he came back in multiple levels.
Yeah.
How about Bill and Ted, Keanu Reeves, and Alex Winter?
Sure.
The time traveling.
I gotta kill the time travelers. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah. Xavier Woods.
Sure.
Ooh, okay.
I hope they do a wrestling venue. Oh my god.
That would be. Again, that's got to be on their list, right? Like, there's no way it's not.
Like, it's just Xavier Woods and John Cena, both of them.
You could do it with the power of the PS5. Imagine how many people you could have. You could do a Royal Rumble, and you have to sneak into the ring, and then you kill them in the middle of the ring, and then you dump them out, and then you're like, oh, and then you get
you
thrown
kill them,
out,
and then
like,
you get thrown out, and you
yeah. Oh my god, that's the perfect crime.
Look, I think we could probably do several podcasts designing Hitman levels.
Joe, have you ever played one of these recent Hitman games?
No, I missed all the Hitmans.
Really? These recent ones are definitely a good one to jump into.
Yeah, they're both quite cheap, I expect, as well.
Probably,
what you do too is you get Hitman 2. And then you get the pack of they ported the levels from the first the most recent reboot of Hitman. They ported the levels into Hitman 2, so that you can play them with all the enhancements that Hitman 2 added. And it's totally worth it to play the entire collection. And the one of the things that's cool about those games, beyond just the base fact that they're awesome, is that you also have each level has like a progression in it, and you unlock new equipment that you can use across all of the levels for playing the same level over again. So it's very much a game that's like, I'm going to play the Paris level for 20 hours to unlock everything in Paris, because it's good enough to play one level for that long. And then also you get gear that you can take into other levels if you want to, or you can just play each level once and just experience it, and it's fun.
There's the like, I'm just gonna kill these people somehow, and I'm gonna get out. And then there's I'm going to methodically plan exactly how I'm going to kill them and get them all in place, and no one's gonna see me.
And the levels challenges kind of guide you to like, oh, well, you need to push this target off of something onto this target so that the falling from the first target kills the second one, and stuff like that.
It should also be noted, those games have an absurd sense of humor.
Oh yeah,
Like they are extremely funny in really bizarre ways.
Yeah, without sort of taking the edge off, they're very funny in the sense that like sometimes you're like, oh, well, I need to sneak into this house and kill this guy, and it's his child's birthday, so I can dress up as a clown and then sneak into his home and murder him while he's on the toilet.
with like a bong.
Yeah.
And like then you leave dressed up as a chicken kind of stuff.
Or you wear a suit and you're super serious and you climb up a tower and then you snipe 3 targets and then walk out like a ghost, and it's not funny at all. Yeah. it just varies.
It's got the broad range, but it is an extremely funny game.
Yeah. Well, what's it like? Like I played Dishonored, so is it? I think I just didn't like the name. I'm like, Hitman sounds so generic.
Dishonored
it sounds generic, but it is so far from it.
Dishonored is not a terrible touch point. Actually, it's like it's you go into a level and it's played from a third person perspective. It's a little clunkier than like a third person shooter would be. There's certainly, you can get into combat where you're just like taking cover and shooting at people, but it's not that kind of game. If
you're in that situation, you've fucked up.
Yeah.
Very bad.
You're probably not. But you can make it out. That's the thing.
You can. Man. Yeah.
Like it's
you're disguising yourself. Yeah. Like you're like knocking people out and taking their clothes and then shoving them in a dumpster and then like, oh, I'm supposed to be here. I'm a waiter.
But what makes it so good is how systemic it is, and like how much the levels are like, just as like Dishonored, how much the levels are like a complicated clock where like, oh, wait a minute. There's a delivery guy that shows up 5 minutes into the level. This delivery guy shows up in this dark alley. I could totally take him out and no one would know. And then I have a costume that I can use because people think I'm the delivery guy. So then I can get into the first level of this complex. But to get to the target, they're upstairs and there's guards that are going to frisk me if I try to go by them. So I can't take a gun in there. So how am I going to get around that? So it's a lot of like kind of puzzle solving almost through like environmental systems.
It's like point and click almost. So it's like I got to.
Yeah, there's comparisons to that too.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's so systemic, so you can always come up with your own solution. Because you may also find that like, wait, actually, if I stand on this building, the roof of this building that I can get to at just the right time, I can see through the window that guy is there who I need to kill. So then I can just like shoot him through the window and then get out. So it's a lot of that kind of like just super getting into observing the environment and planning how you're going to take the targets out.
We could talk about
cans of spaghetti at people's heads.
Yeah, the spaghetti is one of the most deadly weapons in that game, surprisingly.
Just like, that person saw me like take this guy's clothes. He cannot leave this room. Spaghetti to the head.
Exactly. But like, there's so much we could talk about Hitman for hours. But it's also cool things like when Pat was talking about, you dressed up as the delivery guy. If you walk by other delivery guys, they're going to recognize that you're not one of them. He's like, wait, who are you? We've never seen you before. So like they'll get suspicious of you and follow you around and stuff. Like it's stuff like that. It's so cool.
Agent 37 or 47, Agent 47 is like such a generic every person that he just looks like everyone. So he'll like people like, oh, you're the celebrity. And then there's like in the second one, you end up as this like tattoo guy and you get to this house and the person's like, didn't you have more tattoos? And you're like, oh, don't worry about it.
And that's how he says it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Anyways, Hitman 3 will be great.
Yes.
Yeah.
My only question about that game is it going to be the kind of thing where you can, again, and this is more of a PC question, am I going to be able to buy Hitman 3 and carry all of my levels from Hitman 1 and 2 into the newest engine, or
I hope
what? But I also kind of hope if they do that they carry over some progress, because I didn't mind starting the progress over again for Hitman 2. I don't really want to start over again.
It's tough on that because they don't want you to go into all the like like the third game's levels with all that stuff unlocked. So maybe they could probably lock it like, okay, you have to beat the 5th level or however many levels are in.
Yeah, maybe.
And then you can have all your progress from the previous games or something.
I would hope, because
But Allison, how about you?
About
which games that like stood out and you were like, what?
Yeah, I kind of zoned out during that Hitman talk because I have not played very much about it. No. You guys are excited and it looked very good. It's something that I feel like I should get back to.
I think you would actually like it quite a lot if you got into it, but
no, I have Hitman 2 on PlayStation 4. I just need to like put some time into it. The 2 games that I don't know if we really got too much information about, but that I'm interested intrigued by are both Returnal and Jett the Far Shore. Both of those looked pretty interesting, and I'm interested to see what they end up being.
The Housemarque game, Returnal, just like another time loop game.
Which is interesting that it's Housemarque.
They said last year they're done with like the arcade style stuff that they were known for, just because it wasn't selling.
Yeah, should be noted they're the ones who made things like Super Stardust and Resogun.
Yeah, I was looking through their catalog and I'm like, I haven't really played their games, but the trailer seemed genuinely compelling with some story elements that I thought would be really interesting to play through.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah, so
I'd bet that is the first PS Plus free game for the PS5.
The Resogun was, but
yeah, exactly. And on Super Stardust HD was the first PS3 PS Plus free game, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Like Housemarque likes to give away games to Sony.
I don't know if Housemarque likes to give away games to Sony. I think Sony likes to give Housemarque's games away to people. So
Returnal,
I don't know. We'll see.
Super cool,
and it does look cool. Yeah.
I don't know, just the art style and just the character was so serious. Like I just wanted to know. I wanted to go watch it.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally.
I'll 100% play that.
It reminded me a lot of Edge of Tomorrow, which is very cool movie.
Edge of Tomorrow with like Annihilation vibes too, in terms of like 100%. Story themes. And so it'd be interesting to see how that could go for gameplay and see how that affects. Like I feel like with the theming of like, the planet is becoming more and more part of me, that can come with some interesting gameplay or some interesting kind of perspective shifts, and I hope they go for it, because if they do, that could be really good.
Allison, when you said that, I immediately thought, what if there's a sanity meter? And then I thought, what if it's Eternal Darkness? That would be so good.
I just had an interesting thought. I don't know if there's anything to this. I haven't thought this all the way through, but with Deathloop, 12 minutes, Returnal, I'm sure there's other games that I'm not thinking of, but like time loops right now are in vogue.
Outer Wilds.
And Outer Wilds, yeah, certainly. And I'm wondering what kind of brought this on, because there's always something that leads to like these themes like popping up in tons of games or tons of media in general. And I wonder if it's just that overwhelming anxiety that so many people have of reliving moments in your past where you're like, I should have done this, I should have done that. And it's like playing it over different ways in your head over and over again. I wonder if that's what's kind of behind that's the current theme. Like that's just kind of a thing that everyone's thinking about. Or
I think
it's the time loop episodes of the Adventure Zone, which were about 2 to 3 years ago, which is when game development would have started.
Those are great. The big purple worm.
But there's a reason that like appeals to people and like why it sticks out and why it would have. But it was an interesting, an interesting show to listen to and enjoy. But like there is this book I read for a college class called Projected Fears, which is talking all about why certain horror movies like stood out in their time period, like why Halloween was like in the 70s, why that was the horror movie, or why Alien stood out, or Exorcist, things like that. And they all have like a thing that kind of latched on to like public fears at the time. So I wonder if there's something like that that's behind why time loops right now are big. Or why the bow was big a few years ago.
Oh yeah, the year of the bow. I imagine it's because they all finally started watching anime, and like 80% of anime is time loops. So they watch Steingates and Higurashi and Madoka. Then they
also played. Everybody just played Bravely Default late for some reason.
Yeah.
In fact, there are only 5 anime.
Yeah, those are the only ones. But like. Time loop has definitely been a big thing in anime for like at least 10 plus years. When did Higurashi come out? That was like 2007.
So Edge of Tomorrow is based on a manga, so
yeah.
So time loops aren't new, but they're in
vogue
right now.
Totally. and I'm here for it because I love them. They can tell really interesting stories that way.
Yeah.
So.
All the games with time loops that I'm aware of at the moment, I'm interested in playing.
Seriously, like I there's multiple ones out there, and I'm like, I would play all of those.
Yeah, I hate time travel, but time loops is a cool concept.
And Groundhog Day, of course, but
VR game,
Groundhog Day,
and maybe they really got into Black Mirror. I don't know.
Yeah, apparently the with Jett, VR game's really good.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say with Jett, like there's some interesting time stuff going on. Like, so it starts out and you're looking at these colonial people, which then don't really show up again, and then the ship kind of takes off, and there's like years ticking by. Yeah. And so I don't understand what I'm looking at, but I really want to know. So it definitely piqued my interest.
Oh yeah, like Planet of the Apes situation.
Yeah. It seems super cool.
Yeah, one of the
Interstellar.
Yeah, one of the like sci-fi concepts that I am most fascinated by are generation ships. Just basically ships that people live on for generations before traveling to another thing. And so I don't know if that's what's going on, but if it was, I would be very excited.
I have a feeling that Jett in particular is going to be a pretty moody thing. I don't think it's going to necessarily be super mechanical. I think what we saw later in the trailer of the like kind of sailing across alien environments kind of thing is probably going to be what most of the gameplay of that game is. But given that it's Super Brothers, I trust that the music, hopefully Jim Guthrie is doing the music, and
probably
if that's the case, then I will fly around weird sci-fi planet environments and listen to Jim Guthrie music for dozens and dozens of hours because that sounds great.
So like it kind of, this is going to be a weird comparison, but it kind of gave me Proteus vibes in that way.
Where I see what you're saying. Yeah,
where it's more about the exploration and figuring out what's on these worlds, because it looks like they had like those almost like escape pods going into a world or whatever. That's what it looked like. So maybe it'll be kind of like Proteus, but without all the crazy weird art. But you are exploring those worlds in that way.
I think if it were like you're exploring these worlds to try to find one that's habitable for the people on the ship or something, and then the majority of the gameplay is like flying around and scanning stuff and taking readings and maybe avoiding things and listening to cool music, that sounds great to me anyway.
Yeah.
Did Super Brothers make anything besides that one like famous game on mobile
just game? Sword and Sorcery.
Like it's so weird to like do that landmark and then like just disappear.
Totally.
And then come back with this. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
The branding between the two, like to have the kind of Super Brothers, like it just doesn't fit with either game. So the whole thing is just weird, and I love it.
Given how weird the sort of meta narrative around Sword and Sorcery is, I would imagine that there's some kind of connective tissue between the two games.
I hope so.
Yeah.
So cool.
The one that's made in dreams.
Yes, they said made in dreams, but I don't think it means made with dreams.
It could have been. I don't know. That looked like a kind of game you could make in dreams.
Powered by dreams. There was no. There was another game that I thought like, did they make this in dreams? Which was a Little Monster or Little Devil Inside. That's what it is. But it's like kickstarted a few years ago.
Little Devil Inside is an interesting. That one got kickstarted a while back, and it looked
5 years ago or something.
It looked outstanding from the Kickstarter. It looks like it is massively expanded in scope. I kind of thought that might be what it was when the trailer started, but then it was like, nah, this is way bigger. But there's some art in there that is questionable, and hopefully they'll have some commentary on.
I saw some of that, but like the overall kind of style and the overall vibe it threw out there was super interesting.
Totally.
Like Monster Hunter-y vibes off of it.
What did I think the comparison I made when we were talking about it was it reminded me of like the Lego games, in that like maybe this is like you're looking at what's it called? Game that's coming out soon, Samurais.
Ghost of Tsushima.
Thank you. Ghost of Tsushima, but like the Legoized version of that, but like but like, with a different style than Lego.
Monster
obviously.
Hunter with like Playmobil.
Exactly.
Ghosts of Tsushima.
It took me a while to figure out that there was like a weird body connection, which I guess ties to so I guess maybe the one character is inside the other. There's like an Osmosis Jones kind of thing going on.
I didn't know that.
Love Osmosis Jones.
That'd be interesting.
That'd be cool.
Weird.
Maybe Little Devil Inside. Maybe indeed inside.
Yeah, well, so it's like you got this little cute character, you know, that you're kind of following around, like super cute, and then it clips to like this weird modern setting with like a guy sitting on a toilet and stuff, and I'm like, what's going on here?
You're supposed to be. My understanding is you're employed by like a scientist, and you're going around. You're like collecting monsters or creatures for him for research. But maybe they are inside. Maybe it's a Magic School Bus situation.
I hope so.
Yeah,
have a good time.
I really do hope that they speak to that art though, because there are some pretty, I would say, offensive character designs.
Yeah, I didn't know you're talking about. But then I looked it up on Twitter, and yikes!
Yeah, it is a big old yikes, and they really need to.
Like that, I somehow did not notice while I was watching the trailer, but now I'm like, oh no!
I think
I didn't notice.
I didn't either. I think it's probably born of ignorance more than anything. But hopefully they hear the criticism and update their art some. Because
So sorry, everybody, I've got to shoot and parent. I'll catch you guys next week.
Okay. Yeah, have a good one. Say hello to baby Todd Howard.
Will do.
Please do.
Bye, Sam.
Bye, Sam.
Bye, all.
All right. Well, we didn't get to. Well, we're gonna do it now.
Game.
He's gone. The Sam special, Spider-Man, Miles
Morales.
Honestly, I don't want to hear about this game ever again at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I just want to wait and see
hearing
when it
people
comes out.
Talk about it.
Because
nobody
of the Twitter,
knows what they're saying.
The Twitter discourse has been really bad around it.
There's been a lot. I mean, it's a lot of Twitter discourse, which I understand, but
the issue is they weren't clear about what it is. And I'm so like, and it's been back and forth like, oh, it's a sequel. Oh, it's an expansion of the, like, it's going to be a remaster, and then this is going to be part of it. So it's just like a DLC expansion. And now it comes out. Insomniac finally came out and said, no, it's a standalone thing. I don't think they've actually said, but it's going to be more akin to like a Lost Legacy. Seems to be the current conclusion. And I just don't want to hear anything else about this game until it's out.
But also that it comes with a remaster of Spider-Man.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Well, and also like we don't know so much. Like I haven't finished playing the DLC for Spider-Man. I would like to play the DLC for Spider-Man on PS5 remastered and get the best experience out of it. But am I going to be able to do that, or do I have to buy a $60 remaster, or is it just, am I just going to be able to buy this standalone thing? There's a lot of bad messaging around it. And then there's also the like,
it's super unclear.
It's very unclear. And then I think like Austin Walker had a good point too. That was like, it kind of sucks that like Miles Morales, this incredible black superhero, is relegated to a like Lost Legacy spinoff.
Yeah, that is extremely weird. And I've seen there's been a lot of discourse over it, and I think it's extremely valid because it's extremely weird. And then you have things like Spider-Verse, which are huge. People like Miles Morales a lot.
And I mean, my assumption is he's going to be one of, if not the star of the full sequel that they do as well. But it's so weird to even, in a sense, it almost feels like, and I'm not an Insomniac, I mean, they could have, for creative reasons, wanted to do this, but it's, in some ways, it seems like, did you just like eeny, meeny, miny, mo, the one that you could get out at launch, and it's a Spider-Man?
Insomniac has been working with them to like demonstrate like, the power of the SSD and all that stuff.
I know.
So they obviously, at least they were doing the remaster. I don't know what the impetus is behind this Miles Morales game, but
it looks
play
good.
Like a new thing.
Yeah,
but
I'm looking forward to playing it. It's just the Twitter discourse right now is awful.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. There's just so much. There's a lot of discourse, but at the same time, like, I will play it immediately.
I don't even think
I like Spider-Man was my number one game of that year, and I love it. But
I think it's the messaging is just so much.
Right. It's very weird. It's very weirdly vague.
The question is why? Why is it vague? Like what? Yeah. This thing comes out in like what, 4 or 5 months? 5 months?
Yeah, 5 months.
So like, why do we need to do this now? Everyone's going to buy the
first thing you open on, and everyone has no idea what it actually is.
If it is what it is, if it's a standalone Lost Legacy style game, why wouldn't they take 30 seconds to have someone from Insomniac, some CG person from Insomniac, not CG, say like, we're super excited to bring you Spider-Man Miles Morales. We're working with these writers. Miles Morales is a shorter, more contained experience that comes along with the remaster. We're looking forward to blah, blah, blah. Like, whatever you're going to call it, like, just put it together, because it's not like if you're going to put this thing out in 5 months, people are going to know what it is. There's no reason to like be secretive about it and muddy the messaging. And
Lost Legacy, for what it was good.
And
to be clear,
I don't think this will be bad. I just don't want to hear any more like, it's a standalone game. No, it's a expansion. It's a CI.
Totally, yeah.
It's been very dumb.
For what it's worth, from the second that they called it Spider-Man Miles Morales, when that flashed across the screen, I was like, oh, it's probably like a Lost Legacy kind of thing.
Right. I think too. That was, it's like it's a side game because it's not titled Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a pretty basic branding thing. If you're going to make something the sequel, you got to put it.
Even people inside Sony are like, oh yeah, no, it's an expansion. It's
I know.
Exactly.
It's very weird.
And I think I said it in our chat. I assume what happened, as someone who works in marketing, I assume what happened is Insomniac had to pitch a thing to Sony. They were asked to pitch. And so they pitched it as saying the right words to please whatever person they were talking to. And then that executive took it as, oh, so it's a DLC. Okay. As sort of more of an internal framing, even though that's not what it is from an outside perspective. And then that executive just kind of ran their mouth and said some dumb stuff in an interview. And that's what kind of flooded the channels. So,
but also it's not, I don't know. It's fine. I'm looking forward to seeing that game when it comes out. And then jumping off of that.
Most important question, do they let you skip the sneaking missions?
Miles, it wasn't one of his things is invisibility, so
it is.
I think he
probably doesn't have to sneak much because he can just turn invisible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm fine with that. It's just the like that game was so good at making you feel fast and powerful and just like agile. And then you play as like Miles or what's her name?
Mary Jane.
Mary Jane. And it was like, oh no, don't let the flashlight hit you.
Yeah.
That stuff did feel mechanical in a way that was like a little. If it had been more of like it would have been, I think, a little less frustrating if it was just like, no, you're just walking from point A to B as this person. But the fact that you had to like avoid the flashlights and stuff definitely was a little like, all right. The other thing we talked about briefly, and we don't have to jump into it for very long, but I remember so little of the story of that first game. I think I've actually like cooled on it quite a bit since it came out. From a gameplay perspective, it's outstanding. So I will totally play Miles Morales because I think that game plays so well. But I definitely at the time was like enamored with the story, and in retrospect now I'm having trouble remembering a lot of the
it's a good comic book story.
Yeah, but I think it's a good comic book story. I think there are also great comic book stories, and I don't know that I would say it's a great comic book story.
I don't know. I mean, I think some of the emotional beats in that were really strong for a comic book video game. Like, I mean, like, yes, it's maybe for a comic book video game, but I found a lot of the character beats to be genuinely really moving in Spider-Man.
I think what's exciting to me about this is not to dismiss that idea, but having like in the time since that game came out, I started getting way more into reading comic books again. And I have read a lot of comic book stories since playing that game that are significantly better than the story presented in that game and have like really emotional beats in them. So I think comic books are capable of that. And I wonder, I don't know how, if I recall, a lot of the writing team on Spider-Man was from Insomniac, not from Marvel. I could be wrong on that, but I know that Evan Narcisse is working with Insomniac, he's a great comic book writer, working with Insomniac on the Miles Morales story. So that gives me hope that like it'll be even better. And again, it's not to say that the original one was bad in any way. And I think you're right, Allison, the emotional parts of it, I won't spoil anything, but there are specific moments that definitely stuck with me, and I do that remember them and they resonate. But in terms of like the overarching plot,
right, the overarching plot wasn't necessarily like it was fine, but I feel like where it really shined was in Peter as a character, and then also the entirety of the character
by virtue of being a comic book video game. Every problem kind of needs to be able to be solved with your fists or your feet. So like I think that kind of limits what they can do, whereas like just a plain comic that you can be a bit more inventive with what they're doing.
No, you're right. And I hope that
the verbs they have are,
it would be great if they could somehow bring some of that to the stories in the future, even if it's not done in a gameplay sequence. If there was just more of that kind of like emotional storytelling done, it would be cool. And you know, like I said, Evan Narcisse is a great writer, so I think that's how you pronounce his last name. And he did The Rise of the Black Panther, and it was very good.
Which makes me wonder, do you think there's a possibility that they'll do anything bold with the story, or will they just kind of keep it generic comic booky? Because like the Spider-Man story for the most part was generic comic booky, except for like they had the bombing sequence, which was like a little bit bold, I would say. Like I wonder if they go more in that direction, or you know, they stay
would
safe.
Say that I hesitate to use the word generic comic booky, because like Marvel's defining series right now is about mutants starting their own country and then holding the world kind of hostage for medicine, you know, like the stories in comic books are pretty cool and like inventive right now. But
I'm talking more MCU generic, I guess.
I hear what you're saying. And I think I would expect in this, in Miles Morales, this game, I would expect it to be pretty standard fare to set up stuff for a sequel. But I would hope that by a sequel, they would definitely take some more risks. They took risks with the setting and the characters in the first game. Again, I won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't played it yet, but there's definitely like character bits that are that shift the landscape of that cast in a way that is not commonly done with Spider-Man. So
yeah,
sure,
and I think that I'm assuming that it won't be none of this will be touched on in Miles Morales, but in Spider-Man 2, there were some hints about directions of Spider-Man 2 near the end of it.
I've seen one person say like maybe Miles Morales takes place in the future, and then Spider-Man 2 will like, you'll get references to like things, and then Spider-Man 2 will go like rewind, and then we'll get like those references.
That would be doing Miles so dirty if it was like, here you can play as Miles for like a Lost Legacy style thing, and then we got to rewind.
But sounds like,
I got the impression that like Peter's dead or something. I don't know, from that trailer, like kind of like the Far From Home, like he's not that Miles is mourning Peter, but just like the voiceover gave me the impression that like this is what Peter told him, and because we didn't see Peter in the trailer, I don't believe so.
But that when you're saying it that way, it just sounds like Wolfenstein Youngblood.
Yeah, something like that. But but Youngblood seems like it's going to take place after, or Wolfenstein 3 seems like it'll take place after Youngblood. It doesn't seem like it, based on the ending of Youngblood.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll be interested to see, but I kind of agree that it's like I just need to see it at this point.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Hey, just tell us what it actually is. I think that was in general the most disappointing thing about it was just a lack of clear messaging.
In some ways, I'm going to play it, but of the Sony first party stuff that they showed, that may have been the thing I was least excited about and buy, because it feels like it's I don't know, there's a lot around it, but I'm going to play it either way because I like Spider-Man a lot.
Yeah, I think that the messaging is confusing, but if it's anything close to as good as Spider-Man, which I'm assuming it will be, considering I loved that first game so much. So and Miles is such a cool character, so I'm really excited.
I will. Yeah.
Pardon?
Oh yeah. Well, that'll be in the second game, or in Spider-Man 2. They'll do co-op, or
that would be awesome.
They'll like switch between. They'll do like in the Arkham games when you fight, like do like the like villain hideouts, and you fight as like Batman, and you can switch to Nightwing and you swap back and forth through the fights. That'd be pretty cool. And then do like a GTA 5 thing where you can swap between the characters as you go through the world. I I will say it was pretty cool that they opened up the conference with like a black protagonist, and throughout that entire show in Grand Theft Auto 5, there's the most diverse game to ever come out. You got a rich white guy, a poor white guy who's like a drug addict, and a black teen or a young adult. He's an adult. He's like in his 20s. Yeah, he's a black 20-year-old young man.
So diverse. Grand Theft Auto,
the most diverse game.
What's his name? Franklin.
Franklin, yeah. But really, with like the first PS5 game they showed, Black Man, and throughout the whole show, the games they showed, women at the forefront. Deathloop is a black man, black woman. Pretty cool to see that.
And a cat.
Yes,
like a cat.
Yeah,
indeed.
That was cool too.
Yeah, I don't want to
the game looks really good.
I don't want to gloss too much over it, but for the sake of time, I mean, there was cool stuff like Stray, which was the cat.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to dive into everything else.
Yeah.
Stray looked so good.
Looked really fun. And like I said, I've said it multiple times, but like it's Annapurna plus robots plus cat protagonist, and that's like, let me play that game right now.
I think on our call we saw the Annapurna logo come up and just said, okay, yeah, sold. And then it was robots, and then it was cat, and it's just like, what?
It's like, okay, it's all things I like.
Backpack.
I was really worried. I was really worried that it was going to be an Automata game, that Penny Arcade comic book, because I don't think that really needs air in 2020. And so for a second I was like, oh no, this looks a lot like that art style, which that comic book is basically about how robots and people and cops and a lot of maybe people who aren't the most qualified to write about robots and cops and people writing about it. But
sorry.
There was Stray, there was Pragmata.
I thought that was a Kojima game.
I mean, like if the dude had taken off his helmet and was Norman Reedus, it would have been a Kojima game.
I would have thrown my chair against the wall in excitement for that, but yes. I haven't even finished Death Stranding.
That one's coming out in 2022, right?
So many of the so many of the like Kojima productions and the Death Stranding stuff had that kind of moon view that they show at the end,
and the spacesuit kind of looks like
spacesuit. It looked so Kojima.
It has such a weird vibe where you're just like,
but that's a Capcom game.
Yeah.
It'll never come out, just like Deep Down.
Only because it's
just like Project Athia.
Project Athia will never come out.
Pretty cool, but I would like it to come out. But
it's not going to come out.
That just looked like that epic, the Unreal game demo.
Yeah. Apparently Gary Whitta wrote for that.
That was the one?
I've seen some people theorizing that it's a sequel to Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, no, it's not.
I don't know. They were like, look at the sky.
No,
look at the skyline.
No, it is not. That's ridiculous. I'm offended that people are coming up with that as a concept.
I was saying it's just Scalebound 2, even though Scalebound never came out.
And wasn't Square.
And also wasn't Square, yeah.
I thought Ratchet Clank looked like Ratchet and Clank, but I'm not into it.
I'm so excited for that.
It looked really fun.
I'm not even a big Ratchet fan, but
I'm on record on this podcast saying the PS4 reboot is a perfect game. I don't think it means it's the best game, but I think just like
I know what you're saying.
The writing, it's fun, it's funny.
I think I'm going to play that reboot. I always meant to get around to it, and this reminded me that I need to. I don't know if it's PS4 Pro enhanced, but if it is,
I never finished it, but it was a fun game. But
I think to what you're saying to Joe, like to me, that game is the only game. My feeling was that was the only game that we saw that wasn't just like, oh, the graphics look marginally better. That was like, oh, this is how having an SSD integrated with this much processing power can actually make 4 new experiences with the way that they were doing the kind of like, I assume that, I mean, it was a cinematic, but I assume that like jumping between rifts is going to be something you do for real in the game.
And
some of it looked like it was like gameplay, like the surfing on the rails. That's like classic Ratchet and Clank gameplay. So
yeah. But like another thing that I haven't really seen people talking about is that it obviously uses ray tracing.
Right.
Like, like that might have been a subtle thing that gave you that feel, Pat. Because like I don't know if I noticed anything else that had ray tracing, but the fact that like the portals and the way they glowed, the way it was interacting like with the environments, like that's.
I noticed that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think so. So I'm super excited for that because it's the first thing. You know, if you've listened to the show at all or heard me rant about this stuff, like I've been frustrated with the shift to the next generation because I feel like it's like marginally better visuals and. That's it. Even though there is so much potential for more. And I feel like the Ratchet game speaks to the stuff that I've been asking for, which is like, no, let's see how we use this new technology in ways that aren't just, oh, we can load better graphics faster. How can you integrate that into gameplay? And it seems like it's doing that. So I'm very excited for that. That's honestly, that's the game that is what sold me on picking up a PS5. Because coming into this, I was like, well, I'm gonna have to buy one when the next Horizon comes out, and that just felt bad. But I'm actually excited about that Ratchet game.
Yeah, the thing. Okay, let's go slightly technical for like 10 seconds.
Do it,
Joe. You can join in if you want. But I don't know if like we've talked about the SSD and the way it works and why it's more interesting than just a standard like NVMe or NVMe kind of drive. It's the fact that it's 12 channels and that they're like, you know, they're reserving one channel for OS or whatever, but like, and the way that those, like the throughput you're getting from those 12 channels essentially turns your SSD into RAM. Like you can kind of do that already, but it's terrible. But they're like straight up selling this as a selling point. It's like, yeah, so you have whatever the 16 gigs of RAM that you're using normally, and then like 8 gigs of VRAM. But now you get like this, your drive where the game is stored, and like you can randomly access points of the game data at any point, which is like huge. And I don't know, like, Joe, I would have to rethink the way I code with that in mind in a lot of ways. Because like, how do I do a pointer if it's like to all of these billions of areas now? Because I think a lot of smaller companies now have to figure out how to use that properly. And I think it looks like Insomniac has started thinking about those, and maybe that's the kind of thing where they're going to be able to write a library that everybody else is going to be able to use.
And I hope the tooling kind of makes it so they could just say load the resource and not really care where it comes from anymore without having to kind of jump through the trick. So I'm kind of hoping that it really opens up this kind of speed of development and kind of cuts out some of the just the boilerplate kind of boring stuff that companies have to do now. Just it's part of the workflow and kind of leaves more room for creativity. But for me, it's like, you know, it's cool that, you know, more or less loading screens and more radical changes in environments and textures and stuff like that. That's awesome. But I'm more excited about just what it means for the, you know, the future of games, which is kind of hard to measure. But
yeah, totally. Yeah, and I think that's what kind of Epic did with their little reveal event, like with the new Unreal Engine too, is they showed like, oh yeah, we can have movie quality assets that are just kind of streamed in now.
Yeah.
And if you can do that and not have to wait 20 hours per load like you did with Bloodborne and stuff like that, then that's awesome.
And I think the implications of that Epic reveal were super exciting to me, but I also view that as an engine demo. And so it's hard for me to get excited about it from the perspective of like a player. I was excited for developers seeing that reveal, but as a player, I was very much like, okay, well, this isn't a game though. And
yeah, totally.
So to see it in not that Ratchet's in Unreal, but to see some of that borne out in that Ratchet trailer was really exciting. And that was sort of the fact that it was early enough in the event for me kind of really enhanced the whole thing, because it sort of set a tone that was like, okay, someone is going to have something in launch window that really feels like a next gen game. And I feel a lot better about the premise of buying one of these boxes if that's the case. Like Horizon's one of my favorite games of the generation. Horizon 2 looks outstanding. It looks beautiful. And I'm sure that it will be an incredible game because I think Guerrilla is an extremely talented studio. And it's definitely one of the games I'm most excited for. But also, it looked like the sequel to Horizon. Yeah. It didn't necessarily look like the kind of thing that I could get on PC and get a pretty comparable experience to what they showed there now with a super, new, pretty open world game.
I think with Horizon, you're going to end up with and we've modeled, it's going to be like a receiver, how they modeled every part of the gun, but they modeled every part of the fucking robots.
And that's really cool from a visual perspective. And I just want Horizon 2, apropos of nothing, but also from here is why you should want it to be. That's I guess that's really what it comes down to is I wish Horizon 2 would come out tomorrow on PS4 so I could just play it because I love that first game and I don't need it to look significantly better than the first game to be something that I want to play. Whereas that Ratchet game was here is why you should want this to be on a new generation of consoles for me.
Totally.
And so that's why I think it was exciting.
I hope we get more things like that.
So yeah, and I'm sure we will. It's just exciting that I feel like I always felt like I would be excited to buy one of these boxes by 2022, but it was more the crap, I'm gonna have to buy one this year because I want to play Horizon, which I figured would be launch window, but it's not. There's not going to be a game I feel justifies the purchase until years down the road. But now that seeing that Ratchet game gives me hope that might not be.
It's amazing what a little gameplay can do for you.
Totally. Yeah.
That's true.
Microsoft.
There was not a ton of gameplay, to be fair.
Like
you did with Gran Turismo, which we don't have to talk about, and
it's cars.
I skipped.
You got to show cars.
Oh, you skipped through it.
I woke up 45 minutes late. I meant to wake up because it was it started 5 a.m. my time. I woke up at 5:30, and oh shit! And I was okay, skip through Gran Turismo, skip through NBA.
I'll say with literally 20 seconds, the thing about Gran Turismo that's frustrating is as a fan of sim racers, I want to be able to play a sim racer on PC as well as console. So because I like Forza so much, I'm not going to buy a racing wheel that works with PS4 and PC. I'm going to buy one that works with Xbox and PC. So I'm just not going to get engaged with Gran Turismo because they don't make racing wheels that really work across all three platforms.
Could be different on the new console.
Hopefully, yeah. If that's the case, that'd be great. But from a sim racing fan perspective, you kind of have to lock into either Forza or Gran Turismo because of how those. And I guess technically that's not true because you can play Forza. You'll be able to play Forza 8 on PC, so you could get a wheel that.
If you're a real fan, you'd get a wheel for all your consoles.
Honestly, I would. I don't have room in my apartment. Again, let's go back to the thing I said about partners and monitor mounts.
No, what you should do is you should build that whole hub with screens surrounding you in this chair that's moving around and all that. There you go.
Do you make goals for yourself? Do you make goals for yourself to have before significant age milestones? Because let me tell you, don't worry, that's on the list for pre-40.
I love it. And well, you're gonna have to get a HOTAS in there too.
Yeah, because that's what I need. I need to use it to play Microsoft Flight Simulator
and a VR headset you can pull down.
It could sit on a table nearby.
No. If you're gonna do it, you got to do it right. You gotta do the top mounted, so that way the cord doesn't get caught somewhere. All right.
There's a lot of games, but should we talk about that box?
We should, yeah. I think
Souls remaster looks real nice. I'm gonna play that.
Some of the lighting changes, they show the Tower Knight and the new. There's some debate on whether the new one really looks better because objectively it looks better, but it's missing a lot of the atmosphere of the original. So
we'll see.
But we'll see. It looks real pretty.
So there are parts of that game that are very dark. Right. Advanced darkness. So I'm just picturing playing that with HDR on an OLED TV.
Oh yeah, should be cool.
Just pitch black at the bottom of the swamp where you're I don't know where it's safe to walk.
Yep. Yeah, there was that. Well, sorry, Joe.
I was going to say goodbye Volcano High kind of made me sad. When the movie Avatar came out and people were reporting feeling depressed afterwards because it just felt like something was taken or lost from them and they just wanted to live there and they couldn't. That's how I felt watching Goodbye Volcano High. I never wanted to return to high school, but if I was a weird dinosaur cartoon creature, I just want to live in that world maybe forever, and I can't. And so that's sad.
There was some vibe to it that we talked about on our call, and I can't even remember what it was now. It was somewhere between Night in the Woods and Beastars.
Yeah. Or another one, Life is Strange.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's good.
But I definitely got the Night in the Woods vibe, which I really enjoyed Night in the Woods too. So
yeah. And
definitely looks interesting for sure.
Similar to Night in the Woods, problematic writers.
Yeah.
But we don't have to dive into that.
I'm not really. I don't know how qualified we are to go into that, but I agree that it's an interesting topic. You should do a Twitter search if you're listening.
The game itself looks really
it looks interesting.
I'd like to try it.
But yeah, they also did the thing where they showed the boxes and some other stuff, like some accessories. It looks like a router.
A very
straight up.
I can't
a high-end router.
I can't. I don't remember who tweeted this. So this is like, I don't remember who to attribute it to, but it's somebody wrote that it looks like a router who finally has the confidence to pop its collar.
That was ProZD. That was that was Sungwon.
It's not like one of those like Nighthawks that look like a stealth bomber with like all the antennas. No, this is like fucking. I had to do it to him, kid.
Yes. Yes.
My spouse is not going to let me put this under the TV. I can't anyway, unless I put it horizontal, which
it can go horizontal, but
it can go horizontal. It is enormous, though. I don't know if you saw the size.
I did.
Compared to the controller when they showed it, it was like, oh, that looks like probably like PS4 size. But then people actually like measured that with like with the USB stuff and like scaled it up.
Some people used the disk drive, which I'm like, that makes sense. Well, why are you using the USB? But
USB standardized, so it kind of makes sense.
But yeah, that thing is big.
It is so big.
Taller than any console before if it's standing vertical, so wider if it's horizontal.
I said it in this. I kind of hope it's like really, really heavy, because the thing, I want to stand that thing up vertically next to my monitor because I have my PS4 Pro on my desk. My partner has a PS4 and that's plugged into our TV. But I keep consoles at my desk so that I can play them in the same environment that I do other stuff in. And so I'm definitely going to trade my PS4 Pro in for a PS5, and I can lay it down on its side, but I want to set it up vertically, but I have a cat that will knock it over, which is a terrifying. I don't even like thinking about that.
To your desk.
Yeah. And if it's heavy, it's just going to go straight through your floor. So
thankfully I live on the first floor, but
straight through the earth.
If it's very heavy, then if it's heavier than my cat will have a hard time knocking it over.
Some kid in Africa just like is asleep and just gets hit in the back with a PS5 coming. The problem is I have a
huge cat, so it needs to be like 25 pounds. My cat's not 24 pounds.
I really love that this is your metric. Oh, I want it to be heavy so my cat can't knock it over.
Totally. It's a real thing. With the PS or with the Xbox One X, it's great because like the cat can't fuck with that thing because it's way too heavy and dense for the cat to be able to move it.
Why did they add wings though? Like, I mean, that thing is very.
So it's aerodynamic.
So when you throw it off a roof, it really sails.
So when they finally get the game that makes the fan spin up, it can just take flight.
Yeah.
The one thing I said is that it looks kind of like what I feel like what childhood me would assume a futuristic game console looks like. Yeah. So I kind of dig that.
I appreciate that they're trying to do something stylish with it beyond just putting out another box. Like, I don't have a problem with the way the Series X looks, but it is very much just like a monolithic black box, which
2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yes,
fucking looking thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they went bold with it. I don't know. Maybe there's a reason it's all fanned out. Maybe that helps with airflow. No idea. But I just love the fact that we have the Xbox Series X, which is a fridge, just a big black, like you said, the monolith, and then this thing, which is
a fan.
A fridge and a fan.
It looks like a floor fan.
Yeah,
like a Dyson.
The black and white thing is weird to me. It's like if you have a light, console center, whatever, TV stand, or a dark one, either way, this thing's gonna stand out like a penguin. It's like, what the heck?
I feel like I need to replace all my living room furniture with glass, just glass.
I honestly wonder, I had the thought, like, is the PS5 gonna influence like decor trends in the 2020s?
Guarantee you that there will be a streamer room. There were streamers watching that were like, well, shit, now I have to redo my entire room.
Yeah. Oh my God, you're right.
Imagine if it was RGB though.
Yeah. It might be. They didn't show everything about it.
There could be some blue lights coming off of that thing.
Oh, more than just blue though. What if you could just get it flashing with like?
What if you can swap the side panels?
What, like a 360?
Like a 360 faceplate. You can clip off the side panels and put like green ones on.
Those things are going to yellow.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm not excited about. Is I like the look of it being. I've come around to the two-tone white and black look, but that thing is going to be, again, cat issues. That thing's going to be a cat hair magnet, and it's going to just get like, it's going to be gross looking in a week.
I want it to yellow. I want it to be like an old NES.
I don't have a problem with the two-tone thing. I don't want white and black. Like, I'd rather, like, obviously you kind of have to go with white or black to fit in a entertainment center, because that's basically what people have for those. They could do wood grain maybe, but
wood grain one would be so good.
Like, what wood grain and what? Like, what's the other color?
Clear.
Plaid.
Wood grain and plaid.
Yeah. No, they should have just. They should have. They should have just gone GameCube style, just black and purple.
So like I would get like an alternate colorway of a PS5. But
the bigger question to me though is just like, with the size of that thing, even as someone who's not going to need to fit it in an entertainment center, it'll be on a desk. I'm going to have to rearrange my desk and move my monitor so it's off center on my desk to fit that thing. Like, because it's so tall.
And I think the Xbox is also going to have that issue because it's so chonky. Like, if it's on its side, it's got like a lot of height.
Yeah.
Like, if it's in the horizontal position, the height of it.
I think the height of it will be okay for my setup because
for some people it won't be. But
not that I would. I mean, I wouldn't have a Series X on my desk anyway because I have a gaming PC that plugs into my monitor. But I don't know. The PS5 is definitely an interesting conundrum as to how it's going to fit in places.
The controller, the promo image had like what appeared to be a black DualSense, like just all black, which were people's like, I just want a black one, please. But then all the images they showed were also the two-tone DualSense.
The controller still is one to me that's like, if that's white, I have had white controllers in the past. If you want to talk about things that yellow with bodily fluids,
have
like
to wear gloves to play every game.
White controllers look pretty gross after 2 or 3 years if you play intense games.
I did say they revealed boxes. They revealed the digital only edition, which comes without a disc drive.
Which is really
it looks so much better. That disc drive looked like a tumor or something.
It did look just like, oh God, you didn't think about where to put that at all. And then you're like, oh, I see. This is the one you want to sell, is the digital version.
Yeah. I'm hoping they do that with the black too. I hope they show white, and then like release time they're like, oh, there's also a black one that we made like 10 times more of. Black.
Yeah. My hope is that they'll, if they're gonna, since they have the all digital one, it would be nice if physical games came with a code that you could redeem. I don't know how you would do that, because you could in theory just like give a code to somebody else. So like,
or you use the code and you give the game to someone else.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
That's bringing us back to the 90s with PC gaming then, because we're just getting back into serial codes.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't care about having a disc so much, but it would just be nice to be able to maintain support for like small game stores.
Or just have the options.
Stuff. Yeah, that's why you have to buy the ugly one.
I mean, I appreciate that they have the option, but I know that I feel like I'm gonna have to get the normal one.
I think I need to see.
I want those options.
If it's significantly cheaper to get the all digital one, because I think like there's a potential there for it offsets the cost of the drive, and then on top of that, they assume they're going to sell more digital games, so like increased profit margin on the games for Sony. Maybe they'll drop the digital one would be $100 less or something. I think I would probably go with the digital one, although I have disc-based PS4 games that I'm going to want to play.
Yeah, so because like if Horizon Zero Dawn, say they do like a PS5, like, oh, you can, if they did something like the smart delivery thing where you can get the enhanced version, like, oh, we did more textures, you can get 4K 60, you don't have to choose, or, something like that. I've got that on disc, so if I get the all digital version, I can't play that. Also, I've got like Blu-rays and DVDs.
Right. That's the thing too, is that I use it as my like Blu-ray system if I ever use those. So
what if they say quietly it does not play movies?
That would not go over well.
No.
By the way, we don't have Netflix.
I just mean disc-based movies.
Remember when the PS3 you needed to put in a DVD?
Yes, that's what I'm getting at, because there's a license. Oh, to watch Netflix?
You needed to put in a DVD when Netflix first came out on the PS3. You had to have a DVD in the console.
Oh,
like a special Netflix DVD.
Same with the Wii.
Really? Weird. What I was going to say is there's a licensing cost associated with the movie player. But is my understanding.
Sony did the Blu-ray stuff. I don't know if they did UHD Blu-ray, but they were like the ones behind Blu-ray. So.
Yeah, but there was something about if you didn't put a disc in, maybe it was DVDs, but if you didn't put a disc in to like activate the license on the software that played the movie, it didn't have to do with the format of the disc, I don't think. Then you like lost the ability to play movies on, I think it was PS3. I'll try to pull it up and share it, but yeah, it was a really weird story where there was a certain SKU of PlayStation that you had to put a disc in to activate the license on the video player in order to play videos, because it was cost saving for them, because if you never use the disc, then they didn't have to pay the license for that.
I think there was something about Japanese. I think I was listening to like a hotspot of Giant Bomb, and I think they mentioned this. I think it was a Japanese like PlayStation 2.
Maybe. And then I thought it was more recent.
You needed the remote to watch DVDs in Japan.
This is a different thing than that. Okay, similar concept.
You needed the remote in Japan for the PS2 to watch DVDs, but then when it came out in America, they're like, we can't do this here; it won't work.
Well, I think one of the accessories they showed for the PS5 was a remote. So I think
they always have those.
How many times are like you're watching a movie, you need to pause it, but the controller's off or the controller's frozen, you got to turn on the code, and you're like, geez, I just need to answer the phone.
I had the wildest shit happen like a few weeks ago. I was watching the absolute most buck wild shit I've ever seen in my entire life.
Cool.
I was watching Princess Mononoke with my girlfriend.
That's pretty wild.
And on PS4, Blu-ray, all the good shit. And we're like, okay, I need to pause the movie. And my girlfriend just grabs the TV remote and hits the pause button, and it paused the movie on the PlayStation. I'm like, how did you do this? It's not how it's supposed to work. What the fuck are you doing?
And what happened? Like, did you guys just?
It paused.
But what was your reaction? Did you just like?
I was just like, what? That doesn't work. What are you doing? No, that's not how that works. Stop that. Don't do that. It's not right.
Like, she broke your world.
Yeah, no, I was like, I've never seen this. This is not how things work. I can't understand how this worked, because it's the TV remote. It's not paired in any way to the PlayStation. It's not even a Sony TV.
Can that go over HDMI? Is that a thing that it can understand?
If you've got like the ARC whatever input, but I haven't deliberately plugged into that. But also
superpower.
Yeah.
Maybe in Japan that's just how they do things.
Absolute most buck wild shit I've seen in my entire life. But yeah, they showed a bunch of accessories, the remote, like a charging cradle for the DualSense.
There's the headphones that will automatically upload pictures of your ears
to Mark Cerny's personal home NAS.
The headphones thing gives me like unlimited amounts of like frustration and anxiety, because I have the the very good wireless PS4 headphones that I have the Uncharted edition that say things in Latin on it.
Cool.
But they're great headphones that have virtual surround sound and stuff that works really well. And I already have those. I have my surround sound headphones for my PC. I have my studio headphones that I use with my microphone when I'm recording stuff. And then I also have a pair of Bluetooth earbuds that I use with my phone. It's like, I don't want another pair of headphones.
I think you'll be okay. I think you'll be
But how are they going to, I'm not going to be okay. The headphones I have don't scan my ear. How's Mark Cerny going to know how to make the audio go in my ear?
Well, you just have to do it manually.
Have to cast a wax mold.
I don't think they've offered a manual option. I'm not putting anything in my ear, but I will take a picture of my ear and send it to Mark Cerny's home address.
So yeah, the digital thing is interesting because no one has launched like day and date console launch with a digital only console.
Yeah, the only other ones were the Xbox One S digital one, and then there was the PSP Go. But those were years after those consoles were already out.
Yeah, and that's what got me kind of thinking that if they're going to be selling out on day one, like I'd be really surprised if you didn't have like a sturdy, good, like solid game kind of released with it, just because that kind of day one issue, and you've got an education problem otherwise. You've got to explain to people what it means if you're buying digital edition only. Yeah,
like now you can't go to your, well, GameStop is going to be dead, but let's say you're going to go to your physical local store and pick up Stray, the disc. And then they're going to get home and they're like, where do I put it? What do I do with this?
You'd hope that retailers be like, hey, it's not gonna work. Can't.
I think it's a joke, but to that GameStop point, like, not that I'm a fan of GameStop, but as someone who worked there for a long time, that was the way that it did go at that store, was like, hey, let's make sure you're all set. Is this game, are you going to be able to play this game? Do you have the right console? Do you have like Wii to Wii U is a great example. People would come in and buy a Wii U game. And, we were very careful to say, like, do you have a Wii U or do you have a Wii? Do you have the one that has the screen on the controller or not? To parents, I don't know, not to take anything away from like the people working in the Walmart electronics department, but are they going to ask that question?
I know that I did when I worked at Target, because I didn't work in the electronics department, but I remember walking past it and people asked a question about Wii U, and I'm like, but that was only because I knew
exactly
about games, and like that I knew the difference between a Wii and Wii U, but like not the average employee doesn't.
No, but you'd hope that the electronics department people, you can't have this everywhere, like, small towns or whatever, they're going to have whoever they have in those areas. But you'd hope on like a console launch stuff, people would know. But yeah, I think there are definitely going to be the parents who buy, or grandparents who buy the digital console and like disc games, and then the people don't say anything, or just like, yep, get them through.
I think the interesting part to me is, we've talked about it before, and I think that this console is going to sell out. Both SKUs will sell out, no problem. But I think more and more it's interesting because I don't feel like they're selling. We'll see what their messaging is like as the marketing campaign goes on. I don't feel like this is meant to sell towards parents buying this for their kids. It's more like, we know there are plenty of you in your 20s and 30s and 40s who have been playing PlayStation games your entire life. You're going to be the ones who buy this console.
Yeah, you're the ones who are going to line up.
We don't have to explain it to you. Yeah.
And also, again, the economy right now is totally fucked. So,
But yeah, I think to Joe's point, like Christmas Day, if it comes out, then kid opens it, plugs it in, the digital only edition, doesn't come with a game, goes to PSN, and that thing is down. You just it's a brick, because like you can't load a disc into it. Like,
to be fair, I mean, I think that's totally right, but also I don't know, and kids don't necessarily care about this, but I'm thinking about like if I get Last of Us 2 on disc Thursday night at 9 p.m. Pacific from my local game store and take it home and pop it in the drive, it's going to pull a 20 gigabyte patch either way. That's an exaggeration, but it's going to pull a patch anyway. So if, I hope it's an exaggeration. So if, so I think like, and maybe a kid is just going to say like, I don't care. Just make the game go. Doesn't matter if it wants a patch, we'll install the patch later. But so much of that is tied to that infrastructure anyway, that I think the point, I guess, is doubly true, that regardless of the edition, you got to hope that they're prepared for like how that stuff is going to play out in that sort of holiday purchase situation.
Well, part of it, like you have to, it is on the parents or the people buying the thing to educate themselves somewhat on what
I agree.
Buying for their children. You can't just say it's all on the employees or whatever, but you'd hope if someone was like making it clear, like, oh, I want the digital one because it's cheaper, and I want Ratchet and Clank on the disc because I'm not putting my credit card information on the internet or whatever. And then, I don't want my kid buying a bunch of microtransactions. And then you're like, this is not compatible.
I wonder. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, that's all.
I was just gonna say, I wonder if this is going to open the door to online game rentals. Because like you kind of get a little bit of that now, but not so much. Like you get it with movies. You have the digital rentals.
The PlayStation Now original model.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was. But like, because now like you're not going to have a used market for the digital only one. Like it's just not going to happen. And
that might be not a feature, not a bug for Sony though.
Yeah, exactly. But I wonder if they are going to have like, a way for 15-year-old kid who has a part-time job to not have to spend $60 on a regular game. Not at least PS5.
Like that.
I wonder how much that 15-year-old kid, I mean, I don't mean to paint with a broad brush here, but how I'm curious as to like the world of 15-year-old kids playing video games now. Is it like 15-year-old kid super excited for Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima? Or is it 15-year-old kid, I play Fortnite and Call of Duty, so I don't need to buy a bunch of games because I just play those all year long? I just don't know what it looks like.
I don't know.
Do you think GameStop sells the digital edition?
That's a good question.
Oh,
they're not very high margin items. Like the consoles, they're not making margin on those.
Yeah,
so.
like because that's GameStop, literally them selling the nails to their own coffin.
Yeah, because they make money off of the used games. Like, that's a good question.
Which was something that I kind of commented on when they showed the all digital version. Is you can purchase digital games from GameStop now. They'll print a code on your receipt. I don't know if you can do that at smaller stores. I hope so, because if I hadn't thought about the issue of my small but existent PS4 library of games that I want to be able to play next year, but if I were able to purchase codes from my local game store that is a small business and support them still that way, I would be much more comfortable with buying an all digital version because I don't really trade games in anyway. But it's a good question as to whether that's even going to be possible, or is Sony going to say like, buy the all digital one and then just give us all your money? Screw you.
But even the like the codes isn't like a huge it's like not a huge margin anyway. So it is it'll be interesting to see, because Sam has talked about this. I don't think he's talked about it on the podcast, but Game in the UK has like totally fucked up game pricing there, where
it's
like physical releases are way cheaper than digital releases, because Game said if you're gonna have digital sales, then we're not gonna, if like there's no price, if we can't have a better price, then we won't carry your consoles, basically. And they're like the main seller of games in the country, so there's like a 10 to 20 pound difference in digital and physical games.
I do wonder too if how much it actually, like, an anecdote is we ran out of seltzer last week, seltzer water, and my partner was like, we need seltzer. And I was like, well, I don't want to go to the grocery store just to go get seltzer because we're in a pandemic and I try to limit my trips. And she was totally understanding of that too. So I looked up like how much it would cost to get seltzer delivered. And I found this subscription service that looks like it has delicious seltzer, but it was like $40 for 24 cans, which is absurdly priced. Yeah. But that business exists, so people must be paying that extra cost to support them. So I'm wondering how far we've moved in the direction since the last consoles launched. How far have we moved in the direction of people don't care about the price if there's a convenience associated with it? Obviously, anyone that's been affected hard economically by the pandemic is extremely price conscious. But like for a lot of people who buy video games, they're privileged enough to be in a position where price maybe doesn't matter as much. So I wonder if that's who Sony is like trying to sell this console to, is people who just don't care. All they care about is convenience and not having to like go anywhere.
Oh man. Oh gosh, you just scared me. I hope people are willing to pay for convenience, because like free to play microtransactions has basically ruined mobile gaming. Like every once in a while I go on my phone to like try to find a game and they're all free. I'm like, well, I guess I'm not getting any because I don't want to deal with this. Like buy 12 silvers to speed up your game.
And thankfully that hasn't hit console game. Like a game like Fortnite has kind of defined. There was some of that earlier on, but like Fortnite now has pretty well defined how free to play games work on other platforms and does it in a good way where like you can play Fortnite and never pay a microtransaction and get everything out of it from a gameplay perspective. It's all just cosmetic stuff that you're getting for paying. But yeah, I don't know. It's a weird, I think having an all digital version of the console has a ripple effect across all kinds of different genres and markets within the industry.
Yeah. As long as those free to play games don't go into that mobile style, like Joe's kind of describing, because like, that is very much the mobile style of
absolutely.
It's really predatory, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah. Totally.
It's bad. Kirby game that came out last year.
What?
There was, Nintendo put out a Kirby game on the
like Monster Hunter.
It's like a 2D Monster Hunter type thing, kind of like it's basically just like a one screen like battle thing. But that was very like free to play mobile game type thing. And it's free to play on Switch, but yeah.
And a lot of these publishers have their fingers in that pot too. Like EA puts out a ton of those kinds of mobile games, and
look forward to Skate 3 mobile.
Yeah. And
Nintendo on mobile too.
Yep.
Like their games are pretty predatory with like
the Mario Mario Kart,
and like the Fire Emblem one, which is just a gacha game, and yeah, totally.
At least that's like it's an actual game. At least, like,
yeah.
Gachas are interesting because there's some like Grand Blue is an example of a game that is. I don't know that I would say it's predatory because it is a gacha game, but it's also the collectability is like kind of part of the game, and you can pay for as much or as little of it as you want to, and still have play through all the content. But a lot of something like Mario Kart definitely fits that mold, and it'll be weird to see how that stuff evolves in the next generation.
I hope Sony doesn't go that way, because like
one would hope.
How is the Modern Warfare, the free to play version, the Warzone? How is that on PS4? Like, is it full of kind of microtransaction-y kind of stuff?
No, there's a battle pass you can buy. Modern Warfare doesn't have any.
There's like cosmetic stuff, isn't it? Like, right?
It's all cosmetics. Yeah. Like they add new guns that you get from leveling up the battle pass, but I'm pretty positive all of those are tied to the free tier, not the paid.
Anime ladies on your guns.
The anime ladies you have to pay for. That is not free.
That's why Forza Horizon is the best game, because you want a weed
gun. If you want a weed gun, you got to pay for that in Modern Warfare. But it doesn't shoot any better than the non-weed guns.
Right. But what was that?
Feel better about it.
Sorry.
Oh, I don't even know who he's talking to. I was going to say that's why Forza Horizon is the best game, because you don't have to pay for the anime ladies.
Yep. But yeah, Joe, you were going to say.
I've been addicted to Modern Warfare lately, and even the guns you unlock they're kind of like these kind of prestigious, cool-looking guns that are basically just kind of combinations of other things that you can unlock in other ways. Call them blueprints.
There's
I'm happy with that.
There's those, and then each season they've added a couple new actual, like, I don't know if chassis is the word, but like full new guns. But I'm pretty sure, and you do have to unlock them, but I'm pretty sure those are tied to the free tiers, not the paid tier. So it's like you get to level 10, then you get the new, like they added that shotgun that's like pistol sized.
That's all right.
For example. And that I think was free. You just had to get to that level with the battle pass to get to it. But that's not tied to Warzone. That's not tied to Warzone either. That's tied to, because Warzone doesn't really matter. It kind of does, but it doesn't really matter what guns you have because you're picking them up anyway.
Right.
Unless you call in a loadout. But the new guns that come out, I think they just get added to Warzone. Whereas the pay, like I play more. Warzone's cool, but I play more the competitive, the multiplayer, and that you just have to unlock the guns through leveling.
Well, what's funny is so I saw that when I got Modern Warfare, I saw that the unlocks were all cosmetic. So I'm like, cool, I don't care about cosmetics at all. But then I saw that some of the things that you unlock are double XP, and so I immediately bought it when I saw double XP because I guess I need that XP to unlock cosmetics. Like that's all the XP is good for.
Yeah.
But you tell me there's double XP tokens, I am there.
Totally. It's like Jetpack Joyride. Right, like one of the first things you could buy was the coin doubler.
Yep.
So like you get that right at the start, then you just boost through everything. Like totally, 100%.
Yep. Experience egg, it's on.
There are games that I play, like the free to play mobile games, where I'm like, this is good enough, right? That I'd pay to get rid of ads. Like I'd give you like $3, get rid of ads. Just give me the bonuses that I get for watching ads or something. But
like tents and trees.
But yeah, like something like that. But they just don't, like some of these games don't even offer that. It's like, so you could pay get our premium pass for $20, but you still have to watch the ads. God damn.
And I was, because I am sort of interested in that Wild Rift, that League of Legends mobile thing. I checked out Arena of Valor, which is the like Tencent, the game that they basically like ripped League of Legends off, because the story was like Tencent said Riot needed to make a mobile version of League. Riot said no. And then Tencent was like, fine, we'll do it. But they took all of the Riot assets and stuff initially. And the map is almost identical and everything to League. And it's very fun. Like the game plays really well, but it is unbelievable. There are like multiple battle passes you can buy. You have to buy the characters. There's skins for them to buy. And then there's like an almanac that you purchase things in that like, I don't even know what it does. There's so many vectors for you to spend money. And it is so devious the way it's like, well, today, if you spend $2 on this funnel, then you can get this. And then the next day you log in and it's like, well, we've got a special offer for you. If you spend $5, you get the equivalent of $10 in that funnel, but you're putting it in this funnel, so you get more stuff. It's ridiculous. It is awful.
Yeah, it's to me, it's like it's hitting all my like addictive nerves. Like they're getting
totally.
Now I'm checking in multiple times a day. I'm thinking about it every day. When I wake up in the morning, I need to go check. And I eventually, that's why I eventually quit Warcraft, because of the daily quests were just driving me insane, because it was just taking over my life. Like I can't do this. I can't play these kind of games.
Yeah.
That's why you'll enjoy Xenoblade. Because at least it's a one-time entry.
And there's no dailies.
It's not daily. It's just
there's a mountain of quests for you to do, but you can do them as leisurely as you want.
Yeah, let me grind, but don't make me grind.
Although I will say, not to go off on a tangent about Xenoblade, but I did the other day. I logged in to play it, or logged in. I turned it on my Switch to play it, and. I was like, oh yeah, I have this side quest. It's just across this bridge that the story had me right next to. I'm gonna go kill this crab. And then I went over there and the crab one-shotted me. And I was like, what are we doing here? How does this work? What am I supposed to do? Guess I'll go do the story more.
Yeah, sometimes you need a good kick in the ass. Like, this quest is for level like 50 and you're level 2.
But it doesn't tell you that anywhere.
That's interesting.
It's weird.
You didn't walk up to that crab and see like some big skulls next to its name or something?
I'm sure that the UI, I think I just didn't read that in the UI. It was probably there, but yeah.
It said no, just big letters, no, do not. But
just like stop.
Don't even think about it.
But so to loop things back, did y'all feel positively about the PS5 event? Like overall?
Yeah, I think that it was a good game showcase. Showed off like a good variety of things and showed off, games that largely like I was into almost everything that they were showing.
Oh, especially the Sackboy game.
Oh God. To varying degrees, and not everything, but almost. But yeah, no, I think that it did what it needed to do in showing a lot of games with variety that looked pretty good. So yeah, I thought it was a good event.
Yeah, 100%. I left that, like I said at the beginning, like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, video games.
Haven't had that in a while.
It's just been there. It was nice to get like something to be excited and happy about because we've been living in some tumultuous times. So it was nice to be like, okay, here are things I can look forward to and enjoy, and then go back to, okay, what the fuck is going on here? What do I gotta yell about today? But it was the messaging. Yeah, exactly. God damn it. But the messaging is frustrating. I want to see them clear that up.
So what's the price of the thing? Like,
yeah,
in a time of economic instability, the least you could do is let people plan for an expensive purchase 5 months before it's going to happen.
Maybe they don't know.
Yeah, maybe they're in the same spot, honestly.
I guess, yeah. They should.
They don't want to like cut the price too soon.
Right, but at the same time, they have to realize now is not really the best time for a lot of people to be making a big financial purchase.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I feel like that's probably. I mean, I'm assuming that's probably the case.
I know for me, I'm mainly PC and Switch these days. I'm really happy with that combo. But I need a media center, so I plan on upgrading. And I had already decided on Xbox because of Game Pass, and it just kind of ties in nicely. So I've owned every PlayStation. I've only ever had one Xbox, and so I was going to switch, but then I saw this, and I saw it was specifically Ratchet and Clank, where I was like, oh, you know what? I had so much fun with those games. It looks so colorful. Maybe I will get a PlayStation this time. Maybe I'll stick with PlayStation. But then I saw the surfboard with wings, and I think that would have done it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I know that I've personally been like, well, Xbox doesn't get quite the Japanese game support because nobody in Japan buys Xboxes. Yeah, so I've kind of. I've already been kind of resigned to, well, I'm going to get the next PlayStation no matter what. So it's interesting hearing from a different kind of perspective on that.
Yeah, and it always felt like, and it's changed a little bit over the past year, that Xbox didn't really have any exclusives I cared about. Like there was Forza Horizon and like Forza to an extent. I don't really care about Halo. I don't care about Crackdown or any of that stuff. But like. Or Gears, Fable, sure. But the thing is, like within the past year or two, that's coming to PC. Everything comes to PC.
That's the thing. That's what I was gonna say. Is
like
you don't.
Yeah, because I like that's something that I'd really like to do eventually. Hopefully whenever I get my next job, I could start building a good gaming PC. So it's like if I'm doing that, there's no real reason why I would want an Xbox.
Yeah, totally. Like
crossplay.
Yeah.
PlayStation has sucked with crossplay for years. It's been a problem. And it seamlessly
they're getting better.
But
they're not.
But I will say to that point, one of the big things about the Xbox, I don't know that I'm going to run out and buy a Series X on launch day. I have a One X and a PS4 Pro right now. But what's nice about the Xbox is there's potential there for, like, I just bought a new video card a couple months ago, but 2 years from now, if I'm feeling like I don't really want to buy a new video card, and I am someone who kind of, you don't need to buy a new video card every 2 years, but maybe I would be into buying a Series X if it's offering really incredible experiences and I can plug a mouse and keyboard into it, which is something you can do, and play those cross-platform games that way. The PS5 has one USB port from what we've seen.
It's got USB-C, I believe was confirmed.
Well, my mouse doesn't, so.
But you get a USB-C hub.
Like a hub, yeah.
Yeah, but that's not.
I think there's that's also enough of there's stuff on the back. So like there's ways around it.
We'll see. We'll have to see. But I think a bigger thing for me is I still am disappointed that it seems like we're going to do business as usual with the way that this stuff is going to work. I know we've talked about this a little bit, Andre, but it's like there's going to be the timed exclusives. There's going to be a bunch of platform exclusives. Like Sony seems like they're just doing another one. Whereas I really like Microsoft's approach to expanding to having PC options and stuff like that. And I mean, I know it's not because I think there's some like altruistic, I don't think Microsoft is like the good guys or anything. They're all corporations that want to make a shitload of money. But I like Microsoft's approach to it more than Sony's, and it's frustrating because I feel a little bit better about it after this presentation because Ratchet looks really cool and stuff, but I still feel like Sony is squeezing me to say like, hey, you liked Horizon a lot, right? Well, it's going to cost you $500 to play the next one.
So I feel like that's the thing with it though, where I feel like, yes, Xbox, the way that it's doing it, especially with the crossplay and everything, is a lot more user friendly, or it's like a lot more consumer friendly. But at the end of the day, I feel like more like I need to buy a PlayStation 5 because of that. And it's not necessarily, I feel like I want to. Yeah, like it's just kind of more of like, yeah, like I'm watching this presentation going, yeah, I need a PlayStation 5. Whereas it's not necessarily great feeling, but at the same time, I don't know, does that matter if this sells more consoles too for the company? I don't know.
Yeah. So I got a weird thought for you, Pat. I don't know. Maybe this is some conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat kind of thing. But so a lot of people were on 360, back in 2008 or whatever. Like a lot of people were 360. Almost everybody. Like PS3 people didn't care about back then. So they built up a library of 360 games. Maybe some people had original Xbox. Maybe they have Blinks the Time Cat and they still have all those discs. But they switched to PS4. So because PS4 was obviously the dominant console this cycle. And but maybe they still...
you didn't have to be online.
Yeah, well,
that's the real reason. Come on.
Yeah, because of course, and you could play used games. But because Microsoft has been pushing really hard, like the backwards compatibility, like 100% backwards compatibility all the way back to the Xbox. And to me, that almost seems like a way for them to say like, hey, we know you switch sides, but if you want to come back, all your old games, they still work. Like, like they're kind of just reaching out being like, hey, look, we know that we kind of messed up the last gen, but if you want to come back, we're open to it.
And that's the biggest thing that I like having my Xbox One X for, which I have used it, not a ton, but I have used it to go back and play some of those backwards compatible games, which still don't work on PC. I think Allison's point is exactly kind of what I'm getting at is I don't want to buy a PS5. I just know that I have to. Yeah. And that's frustrating coming from the perspective of someone who has a gaming PC, which not everyone does. So I understand that that's a unique perspective for sure. But
yeah, that's a barrier to entry there.
I feel like I can play whether I had bought a video card or not, I would be able to play Deathloop because even my 5-year-old, or not that old, 3 or 4-year-old card that I had would have probably been able to churn out Deathloop on like medium or lower settings. But the fact that like if I'm a PS4 only user, I have to buy a PS5 to play it, or I just can't. It just sucks. And it's the way it has always been. It's not like this is a new thing, but it's a thing that has always bothered me. And it's disheartening to see it just continue to be the thing. And it made me like coming away from that presentation, it just made me go back to the like, obviously there's a lot of toxicity around PC gaming. So this is not the direction I'm coming at it from, but it made me go back to that, like, man, I wish that the Steam machine thing had just taken off and leveled the whole playing field, and that Sony just made games now and then you got to buy whatever box you wanted to play them on. Because it feels it's a frustration, I think. And I think the reason that what amplifies it for me is coming away from it and seeing posts on Twitter that are like, Sony wrecked Microsoft and so Nintendo sucks. Look at this comparison between Horizon 2 and Pokemon and stuff like that. It's just like everyone, you're all just like whipped up into this consumerism frenzy. You shouldn't want to buy a $500 box just to play a new game. like that. You can be excited about the games, but that part of the equation, you shouldn't want to go get a PS5 box tattooed on you because you're like excited about the fact that there's a new $500 hunk of plastic and silicone.
I want to get the PS5 tattooed on me because it's a beautiful piece of hardware.
Yeah,
it's frustrating from that perspective of like we as consumers should be saying like, hey, we're gonna buy this. I'm gonna buy this box. We're gonna buy this box, but this does suck, and I'm not gonna like feed the hype machine and just like spout off about how incredible the conference was, because I have a lot of respect for what the developers are doing, but I also think it's still like,
yeah,
when are we going to move on from this cycle?
Yeah, and I'll just leave it with one last thought because I know we should probably wrap up soon. But the one thing that Microsoft does, and like Joe was also kind of alluding to, is like xCloud. Like we have Game Pass, but we also have xCloud, and they are kind of speaking to those people, Pat. Yeah. They're saying like, you don't necessarily need this new console. Like they're going way more heavy into the services, which I think is the right choice in 2020. I can't fault Sony for going into it with the mentality they have, but I think Microsoft is, like we've said, a little bit more consumer friendly in that way.
I think at the end of the day, and maybe this jump to having that SSD integrated will be what Sony needs to do this in the future. But I think the premise of the Xbox they're doing, and I'm not really a Microsoft fanboy either. I'm coming off that way, but I'm not.
I've never owned an Xbox, so
yeah. I didn't get an Xbox until last year, and before that, the last one I had was a 360. So, but they're doing the thing that I kind of had hoped this whole generation would be, which is, hey, if you have an Xbox One S, you're going to be able to play. I'm pretty sure this is true. You're going to be able to play Halo Infinite on it. Yeah. It's not going to look as good as it does on a One X, and it's certainly not going to look as good as it does on a Series X, but you're going to be able to play it on each of these consoles, and you're going to be able to play everything we put out this year on each of these consoles into 2021. And then maybe by the end of 2021, that One S is going to be a little too long in the tooth to play new games, but your One X is going to work into 2022, at which point you like that rollover to me is much more friendly, I think, and it makes it feel less bad, because it feels like an evolution more than a hard, like, artificial stop.
Microsoft is doing everything they can to say you don't have to buy this console, whereas Sony is doing everything they can to go, you are going to buy this console.
Yes. And I think that's why I feel better about the Microsoft approach, even though they're both big companies trying to make money. Yeah. And Microsoft is also supported by a huge range of services that make a hell of a lot more money than Xbox does. So if anything, that part of their brand is, or that the Xbox division is definitely not something they're leaning on anyway.
I guess it leaves me wondering why we can have this conversation another time, but why the Series X is even coming out this year. Like, if they could, like, the One X wasn't that long ago. And maybe it's because, like, next gen games that are built for, like, the SSD stuff, with, like, the PS5 won't, like, exclusives won't be able to play nice with the One X or the One S. But, like, if they let it bake for another year or two and then game came out and, like, okay, now it's the most powerful console ever, and they're saying that about this current one, but like the step up it could be compared.
My assumption is that
would have been another thing, but I don't know.
With this model, they'll probably release consoles more frequently. Microsoft will. I think you'll probably see more updates, like more regular, maybe not annually, but every 2 to 3 years they'll probably put out something that's a little beefier. That kind of fits with that, like, slow roll from console to console. I could be totally wrong about that, but that's how that's the strategy I would take, so that I can always say, as Phil Spencer, hey, the Xbox is the most powerful console. The one we just put out is the most powerful this year.
We'll find out next month when Microsoft finally shows some games, like some Xbox games, and not just here's some third-party things. I don't know. I hope Microsoft has a strong showing. Like, I want them to have a strong showing, because hey, PC, it's got good games. Fable, baby. Put Fable 2 on PC. I've never been able to play it.
I'm still excited about the integration story. So I like the idea, like when Sea of Thieves came out, everyone who had Game Pass had it. So if I got some friends that are invested in that ecosystem, a new cool game comes out, they all have it. I don't have to go try it and then convince my friends that it's worth getting and hope that the game takes off. You know, like we all just have access to it day one if we all pay that $5 a month. And then even better, if my spouse wants to watch a new episode of Outlander, then I can go upstairs and get on my PC and continue playing with my friends. And like that's just such a compelling story.
Yep.
Yeah. 100%.
And even taking that,
I don't have friends, so
taking that even further, like this is a real world thing for me. I have friends who don't have Game Pass because they will not do subscription services, which I don't get, but that's how they are. So see if these launches on Steam, I can say, hey, I've played this game. It's fun. I played it because I got it on Game Pass. If you guys ever want to check it out when it's on sale, I'll totally play it with you. And they already have like that earworm of like, oh, he's been playing it and says it's good. So I think that it works both ways too.
And they come back and go, have you heard about Sea of Thieves? Oh my God.
That's an inside thing, but yes, that did happen recently with a game that I've been trying to sell them on for years.
All I do is play Slay the Spire anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
You got to play Monster Train.
Oh yeah,
I got it.
I do need to buy that.
Hell yeah, I got it. I don't even like card games, so
it's great. It's great.
We're gonna wrap up here real quick. Just some last minute things. Allison, I believe you have an update.
Yeah, just a quick update. The devs for Little Devil Inside have apologized for the character design, and they're intending to change it.
Great, that's good to hear. Fantastic.
It's good that they're responding to criticism.
I think they're based in Seoul. I could be wrong about that.
Okay.
I believe they're and either in Korea or they're in Thailand or somewhere. So the what I heard was like it's probably a cultural misunderstanding, not an intentional.
And that's what it sounded like. They're like
they're in Seoul.
Seoul. Okay, cool.
The way that they described it was like, here's our intention, but at the same time, regardless of our intentions, we have sincerely apologize, and we're going to change these. Here are these things that we're going to change. If these aren't enough, we'll completely change it even more.
Cool.
So.
That's great.
That's
good
cool
to hear.
That's cool that they're listening.
Yeah. Don't change the old man pooping.
Please don't.
Please don't. We need that.
That's what we need.
I need more people, more video game characters pooping, please.
And so last news story I want to hit on is the itch.io bundle for
go buy that.
Quality. It's over $5 million now. There's like over 1,500 games in there, tabletop and video games.
It's a crazy bundle.
It is an absurd bundle.
I still have yet to buy it, and the higher the number goes, like I'm like, should I buy it? It's
probably.
I'm going to. I'm just like the higher the number goes, I'm like, oh no, it's like anxiety inducing.
Yeah. I especially since I think they realized that because there's no way to like add everything to your library yet. They're still working on ways to sort through this bundle and to add all of it to your library because there's just so much of it. But it's a ridiculous bundle and for a great cause too. So it's I bought it and I've been kind of looking through it for the past few days. Hopefully next week we'll be able to talk about some of the games that I played, but it has like an incredible amount of games. There's
like Celeste is in there.
There's Celeste in there. There's Astrologaster, which I love. A Short Hike, which is in there. Night in the Woods.
And plenty of games that you've never heard of. From smaller developers that are just on itch.
And so what I'm going to try to do is try to play some games that I haven't heard of and then write reviews for the devs because this is a really great thing that they're doing. But yeah, there's a ton of games in there. And there's also, I think, some assets for game dev if you want to. There's some tabletop games in there.
That's awesome.
There's so many things in there.
You got to get it for sure.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I paid since like the base price for it is $5. I paid $14.27, which was a cent for each thing that was in there at the time that I paid for it. It has since gone up to 1,658 items in this bundle.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome of the devs.
It rules.
That's super awesome of the devs.
It is.
Yeah.
It is super rad. Yeah.
The way that itch works now, if you haven't purchased anything there too, is it does tie to your account too. So you don't have to like keep all this stuff in a folder somewhere.
Yeah.
It is
and
tied to your
I think they have a
account.
launcher, but I haven't downloaded it yet. Yeah. But
also, Allison, one game that you should try is Speed Dating for Ghosts.
Oh, I heard of that game. That looks really cute.
Yeah, that's my cousin. That's my cousin's game. He loved it.
Oh,
awesome.
Yeah.
I was literally just looking at it. It looks hilarious.
Oh yeah, it's good. Yeah. I felt like I couldn't write a review of it though because he's my cousin. So
yeah.
This.
Oh yeah, I see his name in that thing.
Yeah.
This bundle will be up for another 2 days and 15 hours and 5 minutes.
Yeah, but it's already made over 5 million for a really great cause.
Over 6 million.
Or 6 million. Yeah. Wow. Jeez.
That's great.
And
Well. Yeah, go buy that.
Well deserved. Yeah, so definitely buy it.
Ooh, don't miss throw cubes into brick towers to collapse them.
That's an amazing name
from Steven Spielberg's lawyers. Oh god, Death and Taxes is in this bundle, which I
really? Yeah, you liked it too.
Yeah.
Glittermitten Grove of Frog Fractions.
Frog Fractions too.
Which I never bought and I want it. So there's a lot of games that I legit really want and I haven't played. So even as somebody that's played a ton of indie games, it's still a really, really great deal.
I mean,
there's also a game from Studio Elan, which is a favorite of Alex's.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Wow.
Well,
between this and the RPGs I just picked up, I've got like thousands of hours.
Oh god, yeah.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
You don't need a PS5. Who needs a PS5?
Yeah, we got plenty of things.
That's my point.
Oh, I didn't notice.
in there. Pikamiku's in there. It's like there's so many games in this.
There's Mortician's Tale.
Yeah. I've been wanting to play that too.
Anyways,
okay. Yeah, we could spend another 2
I was gonna say we could list every game.
Minutes in there.
Cat lateral damage.
Football drama.
Cat lateral damage is so dumb.
All right.
It's so dumb.
Okay. That was the last thing. We'll be back next week to talk about the PC Gamer Show, which is in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Part of me wants to stay up and watch it. It's also the Future Game Show, which is the Games Radar show is after that. Probably Persona is going to be on PC by the Persona 4 Golden will probably be on PC by the time you hear
Persona
this.
3 portable, please.
So maybe that'll be part of it too. Maybe
I bleed for you, Allison. I just don't think it's ever going to happen.
I know it won't, but I want it so bad.
Bloodborne is supposedly coming to PC. I don't know when. I just started playing that on console again though, because I never played the DLC.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I never finished Bloodborne. I'm a bad.
It's good. Anyway,
I didn't finish it because I'm casual.
That's going to do it for episode 125 of the Gaming Fix podcast. I've been your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite Pantone color. You can find me on Twitter at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W. Alex, where can people find you?
You can find me listening to Coding Blocks at codingblocks.net.
Okay, great. And Pat?
Find me at PJC Plays and getting simultaneously interested in Last of Us 2 Discourse and mad at replaying Last of Us Remastered, which I started last night.
How far did you get?
To the point where they're going to the Capital, but I didn't actually. Oh, okay. Like right after you escape the soldiers.
Okay.
Yeah. The writing in that game is better than I remember. That's all I have.
Okay. Allison?
Find me on Twitter at WRITERSERENYTY. And if there's a WaniKani social media, I don't think there is, but I am spending too much time on. Oh, I don't really care about it then, but I'm still spending too much time on WaniKani.
It's not.
I don't know what that is, and I've avoided. I don't need to
Japanese.
know. I don't need to know.
Yeah,
it's for studying Japanese.
I've sent screenshots of where I do like the 200 reviews. I'm like, I did this, and I hate myself.
Yep. So I'm joining you on that. So
they were making like a digital textbook kind of thing, and then just fell off the face of the earth. And they're like, yeah, I don't know, that was whole weird. I was like, oh, I like WaniKani, maybe their other thing would be good, and it's just
unfinished.
Not unfinished.
Good to know.
They have a lot of people's money.
I was thinking about that too. Although I still technically was part of the beta for WaniKani, so I have a discount forever on it, which is
oh my god, this
nice.
looks dangerous. We gotta leave.
Anyway,
I need to go.
Joe, where can people find you?
I suck at Twitter, but at Coding Blocks is a good place. And and thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed it and loved the show.
Absolutely.
It's great to have you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We have been talking about Coding Blocks on this podcast at least for the past 2 years. So
awesome.
So, yeah. If y'all listeners, if you haven't listened to Coding Blocks, give it a shot. Even if you're not a programmer, we love it.
Raise the roof.
You can find the podcast on Twitter at Fix Podcasts, or you can go to fix.space, find our social media, find the podcast for your podcast platform of choice, and you can head to podchaser.com/gamingfix to leave us a review, and we'll give you like little kisses over the internet.
Or big ones. Depends if you want.
Or not at all if you prefer.
Whatever kind of kisses you want.
Or don't want. Yeah.
I don't know. This is your cash and checks. My lips can't kiss. Thanks for joining me, everyone.
Anyways.
Video games, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And Black Lives Matter, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Make sure you're paying attention to your local protests and the people marching, and,
Yep.
Don't look away. That's all I can say.
Yep.
Okay, bye.
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 Bye.